Big Sills. I hope all had a Big Sills Memorial Day weekend. First and foremost, you thank our military personnel, men and women, who serve in our country. You understand what the weekend was for. You watched yourself some sports, whatever it was, NHL, NBA, maybe some USFL, all good. Get yourself ready. We're like 100 days out from the start of the NFL season. You hear me? 100 days out. July 27th is right around the corner. That's report day for training camp for most NFL teams and for the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of news Eagle-wise. And a lot of hope, and in my opinion, a lot of great words coming out of the NovaCare Center. Big Sills has got some insight. And by the way, my friend Gary Cobb was over at the NovaCare Center over the weekend as Eagles are getting ready for their OTAs. Before I get going, let me show you what a gangster move is. I thought it was unbelievable what the Miami Heat did. Basically with walk-on players, people who weren't drafted, and Jimmy Butler. Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA. Why? Because Pat Riley's the OG. So this guy books a plane flight to Denver to get ready for Thursday's game 1 of the NBA playoffs. Pat Riley did that. He booked a flight as soon as they got done with their task in Boston for game 1. And what do? They go in there and blow out the Celtics. You see, if you envision it and you keep believing in it and you keep talking about it, that becomes a reality. Dude, that's a Muhammad Ali trick. Ali wasn't trying to disrespect his opponents. He was trying to talk himself into the victory, seeing what he was going to do. I talked to Angelo Dundee numerous times. Do you think he really cared it was Liston or Foreman or Frazier or any of those guys? Ali was doing it to convince himself. Man, if you start practicing success and you're constantly doing the right things, and you're looking at the little things, knowing full well that those little things become big things. That's how you become a champion. You practice being a champion. You practice game tempo. You know, I learned it from that guy who wrote that book back there, Swagger. We did everything at a championship level, no matter what it was. Lifting weights, practicing, drills, how we dressed, how we traveled. Everything was professional. Everything was meant like we had done it and been there. We did everything like a pro. That's a professional organization who has a winning culture. That's what culture is. And you saw Heat culture on display. By the way, you could apply that anywhere. I think that's one of the great things that the Philadelphia Eagles are practicing right now. They're practicing being a champion all the time. That's not a cliche. It's not something you write on a chalkboard or you see over a locker room. Because when you keep seeing it, you keep saying it, eventually it becomes reality. Jimmy used to have this saying about players and how he motivated people. Coach Johnson would say this stuff. You tell a player who he is, he'll remain. You tell a player what he can be, he'll become. He believed that until his last day coaching. Coach Johnson believed that. And by the way, I saw it. And he's right. You keep motivating people the right way, keep putting a good environment in the building. I think championships are won in the offseason in football. I think you apply all the things that you did in the offseason when the fall comes. All the hard work, all the preparation, all the conditioning. Shit, by the time you show up in July in today's NFL, if you're not in shape, you're not mentally in shape, you're not winning. And that comes from the top down. This is why I say this to you about this Eagle organization. They're practicing being a champion all the time, and the momentum that they've taken, I'll tell you one thing that I am impressed with. Most teams get deflated after a Super Bowl loss. Shit, sometimes most teams get deflated after a Super Bowl win. They kept the momentum going. The only other organization that I can see in my time in the last 25 years that's kept the momentum going like that was New England. Don't you feel right now? Get this. I feel better today about the Philadelphia Eagles' chances on winning a Super Bowl than I did in December. Is that fair? Hey, don't you feel better? This is what a statement. Don't you feel better today about the Eagles' chances of winning a Super Bowl than you did in December? And you lost one in February. Why do I feel better? Because I think it's a culture. 11 goes Super Bowl hangover. I don't think so. I don't feel a hangover. I feel momentum. I feel momentum. I feel pretty good about it. Hey, let me just show you something else about momentum and about being underdogs. Who would have ever thought that the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat would be in finals? The Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat. Dude, Pat Riley is the original OG on motivation. I love that guy. I told you that story in one of my favorite stories of all time when he had Game 6 in the Garden. And the junior sky hook. This is going to take Will to beat these guys to close them out. It's going to take Will. And one of the only teams ever to close the Celtics out on their home floor in an NBA Finals. Dude, great stuff. Great stuff. I want to get into some topics. By the way, bottom of the hour, our friend Gary Cobb from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. And Kevin Frazier from Entertainment Tonight will join us in hour number 2 at 4:30. Talk to my dear friend of a long time, get his thoughts on the NBA Finals, get his thoughts on the upcoming NFL season and why the NFL is just exploding. Do you know the top 20 television shows in the history of TV are all NFL shows? I think MASH has still one of the spots when it comes to the most watched television shows of all time. I think MASH and Friends, something like that, are still on that list. Anyway, so I was talking to a friend of mine who was talking with Howie Roseman a couple days ago. You know Mike Florio? Pro Football Talk? Okay. Howie Roseman told him something on why he picked Jalen Carter. We got a couple Jalen Carter topics here today. You know why he picked Jalen Carter? I'm paraphrasing here. He said, my draft process in the past, I may have gone too conservative. Instead of going with more of a gut feeling, I went with the analytics of the player and some of the scouting reports, and I didn't pull the trigger on potentially the guy that I actually wanted. Basically, in essence, admitting that the Eagles had gone too conservative. Maybe 3 years back, all the way back to 2000, that their approach was conservative. He didn't want to make that mistake this time. He was going to take a gamble. He was going to take that gamble and take Carter. And he wasn't going to go and and have that scenario play itself out again where he wasn't going to gamble. Tone goes, in other words, how he always overcooked the process. Something I accused him of. It's not admitting failure. Do you know what that's admitting? Growth. Howie Roseman, since he came out of the broom closet, has become the best general manager. Veach, John Schneider, those three guys are probably all in the same room. John Schneider from Seattle, Brett Veach in Kansas City, but that's a lot to do with Andy there too. And Howie Roseman, he has become such a better general manager because he's listening. I got to tell you, man, this new wave GM guys versus those old school guys, those Bill Polian dudes, and those guys back in the day who their word was set in stone no matter what, is gone. I got to tell you, man, these GMs that are in the NFL today, because their asses are on the line and you get fired quicker. One thing we've learned in sports, good people get fired. Look at the NBA. Shit, man, there's a ton of good coaches that get fired every year because you can't get rid of the players. Why? Because they're guaranteed contracts. So you fire good coaches. You see that all the time. Do you understand the reason that good coaches get fired in the NBA? Because you can't fire the players because they got guaranteed contracts. That's why you get rid of bad players in the NFL and don't fire certain coaches. Because you can hang with the coaches because the organization wants to hang with the coach. NBA, they're not going to hang because someone's got to fall on the sword for failure. Someone's got to fall on the sword for failure in the NBA when teams fail like the Sixers. By the way, Nick Nurse is now your coach in Philly. Does it matter? Does it really matter? You know, I know that Tone and I are kind of on the same page with this when it comes to Josh Harris. Does it matter if it's Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, Mike Brown, name a guy, Eric Spoelstra? Does it matter? It's the culture we just talked about. Does it matter? It'll be another one-round exit again, and the coach will be to blame, and he'll be on the conveyor belt. Before it was the player conveyor belt. Now it's the coaching conveyor belt in Philly. You guys got a new scapegoat, your coaches. Not the players anymore. Does it matter, really? It doesn't matter because your culture sucks. Heat culture, Eagle culture. Those are cultures that are practicing championship mentality every freaking day. Every day, they're practicing it. Who sets the culture? The owner. The only reason Howie Roseman is being considered the best general manager in the NFL is because your owner does something that no other owner has shown yet that he has the onions to do. Hey, guess what? I believe in this guy. Instead of just signing some fantasy contract, here's why Jeffrey Lurie's the best owner in football right now when it comes to players and why players want to play in Philly. Because he puts his money where his mouth is. He doesn't write you some phantom contract and backload the contract so that they can blow you out and fire you and you never get the money. You know what this dude does? Let's pay him up front. We're going to get the best out of the kid up front anyway. Kid gets hurt. At least we get a couple years out of it. It was worth it. Instead, you know what you have owners doing? I'll pay you $50 million 3 years from now, but I'm going to pay you $4 million now. Dude, those are bullshit contracts. Those are owners who don't believe in what their process is. The owner in Philly does. He puts his money where his mouth is. That's why your cap hits in the Jalen Hurts contract are minuscule compared to what you're even seeing with Daniel Jones. And Roseman now is growing because he has been given autonomy. The same power that Doug Peterson coveted as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Howie's been given. Just in a different job title. He now is the guy making all the decisions because the owner believes in Howie Roseman. There's a chain of command in Philly. There's a chain of command in Miami. It starts with Riley and Mickey Aronson, the owner of Carnival and the owner of the Miami Heat. Don't you think that there's any coincidence? By the way, just for the record, don't you find it odd that if you name the 10 greatest players in the history of the NBA, the only player in that top 10, besides Wilt, who has a losing record in finals, is LeBron James? Why is that? The only time he ever really had a great head coach was in Miami. The only time he ever had a really great organizational director of operations was Pat Riley. The only time he ever had the trifecta working at one time was in Miami with Mickey Aronson. Every single great player in NBA history had a great coach connected to him, except LeBron. His best coach is Eric Spoelstra. That's why I say this. LeBron James probably left 3 NBA championships on the table in Miami because of his ego. He didn't want to go and be part of a winning culture. Look at where he is now with the Lakers. It's a train wreck. Because LeBron took some shit teams to the finals? Absolutely not true. You want to know what shit teams are? Try getting drafted to the Chicago Bulls and remember how shitty that team was and then sticking to something and finishing it. And playing your entire career in places. LeBron James went team hunting. His journey wasn't nowhere. He went to loaded teams. After Miami, he always went to the places that had teams that had loaded players on them. He didn't start a project. Remember something about Magic showing up? You know, everyone's like this. Again, this is about organization. I'm going to turn it back to Howie here. But just remember this about Jabbar in Los Angeles. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, he had Kareem. Well, what did Kareem do from 75 to 81? What did he do? Nothing. Scoring titles? MVPs? No NBA championships. Then Magic showed up. Okay, then Magic showed up. Remember, he didn't win shit in Los Angeles until Magic showed up. Paul Westhead wasn't the guy. Do you know they fired Paul Westhead? Let me just show you, again, organizational. Look what Dr. Buss did. He went to his best player, Magic Johnson. They had beaten your Sixer team. And he goes like this, I can't play for that guy. That guy does not respect me or really a lot of things, and it's about him. Pat Riley didn't win that first title in Philly. It was Paul Westhead. They fired a guy who won the NBA title and gave it to a guy who was in the television booth, and Pat Riley. That was a TV dude, like Steve Kerr. But Buss had enough belief in his organization because who was running it? Jerry West. It was Dr. Buss, Jerry West, and Pat Riley. Look what you got in Philly. Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, who's kind of like, you know, he could be changed out too, just like Doug Collins could be. See, to me, Nick Sirianni's Doug Collins. Maybe he's not the guy. Maybe there needs to be one more dude. Because look at all the great Super Bowl coaches and players. Can you name me a Super Bowl winning quarterback that didn't have a great coach? Can you? I know you could say this about Doug. Was Doug really a great coach? Or is he going? I think Doug is a great coach. He's turning out to be. Can you name me a guy who's won a Super Bowl? Name me a coach that's won a Super Bowl as the head coach with his quarterback. That wasn't a great head coach. Let's see. Joe Flacco, we had John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh's going to the Super Bowl or the Hall of Fame. Barry Switzer, okay, that's fair. Switzer was kind of holding the mail for Jimmy. Sure. Okay. Tony Dungy. Peyton Manning. Sirianni's Pat Riley? Absolutely not. Sirianni's Doug Collins, I said. Gruden? I think John was a pretty good coach. I don't think he's spectacular. Mike Shanahan had John Elway. I'm talking about two dudes, Mike Shanahan and the quarterback. Look at all the great quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls. Mike Holmgren, Brett Favre, Belichick, Brady, Walsh, Montana, Noel, Bradshaw, Jimmy Johnson, Aikman. I think Sean McVay's a hell of a coach. It's about culture. Let me bring it back to Philly. So Howie didn't want to make a mistake on Jalen Carter by not going for it. Good for him, man. That's a gamble you take. Okay? That's a gamble you take. By all intent purposes, he looks spectacular right now and in shape. See, to me right now, Jalen Carter, it's not about training his body. To me, it's about keeping him focused, like it was with Jerome. Let me get over to Carter now. Let me tell you what they're saying about your boy, Jalen Carter. Unbelievable strength, footwork, lateral movement, pass rushing skills. He's already your best defensive lineman. And they haven't even started hitting yet. I'm hearing this about Jalen Carter. All the things that I told you about Jerome Brown. This is about conditioning his mind to get into a process. Before I bring Gary Cobb in here, let me tell you what these pros like Gary Cobb or these 10-plus year guys. Here's advice from a player who didn't play like those guys did. You find a guy like Gary Cobb who's got 10 years in the league and was a late draft guy. He's got hunger and a routine. You get to that routine, what that guy does, because he's fighting every day of his life, because back in the back of his mind, he still thinks he could be cut, even in year 10. And that's what Jalen Carter's got to have, a process. I told you this when I sat next to, I had Ed Jones over here, and I had Gary Cobb here. We had so many veteran guys. Tom Rafferty was on that. And you're like this. Look at how these guys prepare for the NFL. I had never seen that before. Let's bring in our friend Gary Cobb from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. Am I right, Gary, when we say this? That right now I'm hearing this about Jalen Carter. They're so impressed with this kid that they believe that he's going to be the best defensive lineman that they have. That's incredible. Going through OTAs, I mean, you're not even in – you're just in helmets and shorts right now. Mm-hmm. So far, it's a great start for the kid.
Well, you can see some of that. I mean, he's shown in the tape where you can see at times where he's a threat to do so many different moves He can beat you with power. He can beat you with his hand quickness. He's got the long arms. He's just a tremendous athlete, with his strength, the lower body strength and everything. So, he can bull rush a guy. So really inside there, that's the thing that, the guards and the centers, they can't afford to get pushed back into the quarterback space. So they got to be able to deal with a guy with power and everything. So then that opens up the speed moves he can, where he goes outside and goes around the corner, comes outside of the guard or the center. So really he is he's like a basketball player where he's got the jumper and he can go around you, where you got to deal with both of those. If you only have to deal with one, see, then immediately that's a tremendous advantage. But he's just a gifted athlete. Now, the thing you want to do is see him continue to get better and get pushed. But you could see all of that. And that's why everybody was so excited when you saw him, where you could see him do all these different things that there are not a lot of guys that show that much in college. But he's what you call a natural, You know
what, Gary? I'll throw this at you. How crazy would it be that if the Eagle D-line had a better season than the Eagle offensive line with Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Fletcher Cox? You surely have the bodies on that side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate the word potential because it means traditionally you haven't done it.
Yeah.
But boy, I'll tell you what, there is a lot invested on that side of the ball for the Eagles now.
They really do. I mean, you didn't even mention Smith, where, you got this, the speed, but that's what you got, with Jalen Carter is you got power and you got speed. I mean, you got both of those. And I mean, you're not going to be able to double team him really, because you got all these other guys to worry about. So you can't be saying, well, we got to double team this rookie. Now, if they end up where they got to double team him, then you're letting everybody else is one-on-one. So, but he's a natural. He's got the power and he's got the quickness and he's got the moves outside. And then, he's a flexible type of guy, so he can slide. He can do all these different things. And you can see where they really didn't perfect that at Georgia. They didn't work on all of that because you can see the other guys aren't advanced like that. A lot of this kid has just got natural ability. He's just a gifted natural athlete. And I think that the sky's the limit. I think he can get much better. I doubt that he really has touched, how strong he could get with a real good, a lifting program where he's got other guys that are really pushing him. He could get even stronger to where he really would be scary. I mean, because what you got is you got a bigger, who am I thinking of some of these other guys that are great athletes, but he's big too, see?
Gary,
so
let me throw this at you here also with that, what you're touching on here. Do you think it's harder to develop players today? Because the NFL plays a fine line here with the collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you and I and people who went through 3-a-days and 2-a-days, and look, maybe totally overkill. We all got that. It was totally overkill. And everything that the NFL did, because it was a military mentality a lot of those coaches came from. Mm-hmm. So that's why they implemented it.
Yep.
But do you think, with all that being said, that it's tougher to teach technique? These kids are more gifted and they're faster, they're stronger, they're bigger. But do you think it's tougher to teach technique with the limited time that you're given, especially in OTAs and in training camp?
I think so. That's why that player has to be committed to do it on his own almost. Because his time with the coaches, he doesn't have that kind of time with the coaches. Now, like you said, when we were playing, they took as long because they could have you out there 24 hours a day if they wanted to. So they didn't have to worry about that. But now there's a limited amount of time he spends with the coaches. That's why you need veteran players really working with the guy and really in order to have a great team, the guy's got to really be hungry for it. Or because you don't get but so much time to really practice and really hone a skill and get it to where, it's just popping. You got to have a commitment from the team. And that's why the good teams have a group of guys that are committed. And the mediocre teams, They stay in the basement. They never get
Barry,
out.
do you think that's why the Eagles keep a balance of veteran guys so that when they get these young guys, I mean, like they draft a kid from Alabama in the offensive line, the kid Jurgens, and then on the other side, Carter and Davis, and then you're young in the safety position. Do you think this is why they keep that balance around because of the limited practice that you get? I know they get that organized team practices now. They use that a lot, but is that one of the reasons they try to keep that balance?
I think it's definitely why, because, your veteran players really almost serve as coaches in a way.
Yeah.
Because they're getting the guys together. They're making sure everybody's working and that type of thing, especially at the skill positions. Like, you see the things Jalen does. He's getting those guys together and they're working out consistently. And that really sets them apart because they're putting in that type of work where you got other guys are not. Because, if they're not totally committed to it, and maybe they got their quarterback where he doesn't want to work out with the guys, so that really allows teams to really separate themselves, now. And I definitely think the Eagles have done some things there where they've got these veteran players and they are really, and a lot of times, almost coaches because they get everybody together and they make sure guys are getting together and working. And I think it's really something different. It didn't used to be like this in the NFL because everybody was getting pushed like that.
How about this? I was listening to Howie Roseman with Mike Florio a couple days ago, and he made this comment. They asked him, and he kind of re-hit on why he gambled on Jalen Carter with all the things that people were saying about him. He goes, in the past, maybe my process was a little bit too conservative. And to me, I never went with some of the gut feeling that I should take on a player like this. And to me, that kind of held us back. And I thought it's not admitting failure, but in a way, since he's come out of that broom closet, Gary, he seems to be listening more. He's more, instead of just analytically going with players or things, he's going more with a gut feeling and experience. Is it because he's been more experienced and has gone through all this journey, working for Joe Banner, being put in the broom closet, given the reins again?
That's
right. Is that why we're seeing all this?
It may be. I can't say that I really know and would be able to make a call on that. I can't say, but it must be. Now, I will also say that he's done a better job during the draft of leaning on the guys that this is their expertise. And their guys call it, and he should be doing this or staying in line with certain things. He has been able to do that, meaning that he's not just, taking off. And sometimes he does, let's say at the beginning, but a lot of times he kind of stayed with what they went out and what they graded all those guys. And they had their chart, and they stayed with the chart. That's why some of the Georgia guys said, we knew they were going to take this guy. They knew what they were going to do because that chart said do this and that. And so he just stayed with that chart. Now, I'll tell you one thing just to throw in there. I got to see that he clearly cannot be done with everything they're going to do at the linebacker position. I think they're going to have to get some experienced linebackers in it because they don't have any experience.
They got 4 dudes right now, Gary.
I know.
Only 4 guys on the roster.
Only 4 guys. And these guys have no experience. I think Dean, I was just talking with him the other day. Kid is smart, man. Kid is smart.
You believe in him?
Oh yeah, he's football smart. I mean, he's small, so he has limitations there. But a lot of it is if you know and you can anticipate plays, like formation and everything. Come on, you can be there before they even do the block. And so he's that kind of kid. He's very bright. So I feel good about him. The other kid, Moreau, this kid has one decent season, and that was when he was in
Minnesota.
Chicago, and they had a horrible defense. I don't know about him. And they got no depth. They got nobody else with any experience. So I expect them to do something. They'll grab some guys out there, get people with some experience, but they'll be playing behind an outstanding defensive line, so they'll have a chance to really do something. But they're going to get some experience in here, I think.
So that leads me to this then. Okay, that being said, DeAndre Hopkins' name out there. What makes more sense for the Eagles? And I say this, Gary, because people are going like this. Look, I agree. I think it's going to be a 3-headed horse race Dallas, Bills, Chiefs. I think it's going to be those three, maybe an outlier in Cleveland because he had his best year with Deshaun Watson. Could be something like that. But, Gary, does a linebacker help you win the Super Bowl, or does D-Hop make you unstoppable?
Well, clearly, I think, those skill positions like that, I mean, that's the game now. Because if you got him, I mean, how are you going to play the Eagles? Like, what are you going to do other than pull your hair out if you're a defensive coordinator? I mean, they're already to the point now where there's no way you can stop all those guys. They just got to play poorly for the defense to stop the Eagles.
How do you play poorly with all those guys on offense?
I mean, I don't know how you stop all those guys. How can you stop all these guys? You can't, because, they're going to be guys one-on-one, and a lot of them, they're going to win their one-on-one battle. Come on. So I don't know how you're going to stop that Eagles offense. Because AJ was over there, and I asked him, how he felt, the fact that everybody's got them circled, and you got all the coaches now. They're sitting looking at Eagles tape. They're trying to we got to find a way to stop these guys, because they embarrassed people last year. They're going to be tough, man. They're going to be tough to deal with. And, the big thing is, Jalen stays healthy. That's the biggest threat. Is I hold my breath when he hangs on to the ball, because you got all these weapons they have. That is going to be
unbelievable. I agree. Okay, well, that being said, let's add this onto it. Who do you think has a career year this year? Goddard? Who's more likely, Goddard, AJ, Devontae, or DeAndre Swift?
Well, I think, Goddard's going to have his best year, because, he would have had it last year if he hadn't got hurt. So he's going to have a great year. I just don't think there's enough balls to go around for.
Yeah, but Gary, look here. I said this last week about that comment, and I hear everyone saying it. Is it more important to have the footballs go around everybody so they get their catches, or is it more important that coordinators can't defend the offense? Meaning by this, so what, Gary, if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't get 100 catches, but he gets 65 or 70, or what's his name, AJ gets 80? Isn't it more important that you can't stop it and defensive coordinators can't defend it than making sure Devontae gets catches? Because then you start talking like Cleveland was with Odell Beckham or with Antonio Brown. Then you become reliant on one guy. You want to spread the ball out as much as possible.
The thing you're talking about is winning,
right.
And you got a guy in Jalen Hurts to go back there and say, hey, such, hey, I had to go here. You understand. The thing about it is we got to score, and that is the thing that we're trying to do, is we got to win. We can't make sure everybody gets the ball every game, especially every game. And so there are going to be some guys a little sore probably, where they're in the locker room, and they're not talking to anybody because, hey, they caught one pass. But it's all about winning. That's what it's got to be. He's got to go around there and preach that, because they can't get the ball to everybody every game. There's just and the big thing about it is you make the defense basically look, what medicine do you want today? Because we're going to give you the medicine you asked for.
JM here brings a point up that I think exactly what you and I are talking about. Will D-Hop be okay not getting all the targets? So NFL fans are under the premise that some of these top wide receivers would rather have this number, 14 catches, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, but they don't care if they win or lose. They'll take the L as long as they have those numbers. If that's the kind of mentality, then guess what? I mean, I could do without that mentality, because I'm okay with who I am now. But that just makes no sense to me that, hey, guess what?
Yeah, I know. But
you and me,
a lot of them are like that,
in a ball game. I get 2 sacks, you get 2 interceptions, but we took the L. Hey, I'm okay with that. I mean, that's one thing about football players. We never brag when a loss.
I know that. But, that there are wide receivers, and there are plenty of them, that they want those numbers. And when they don't get the numbers, you see them in there, they're looking in the mirror, they're not happy. After the game, they're not speaking to anybody, and the coaches over there, you got the assistant coach over there trying to talk to them. A lot of them are like that. I mean,
well, I would hand out tissue papers to those guys after games. Then here's a tissue. If you got an issue, here's a tissue.
You know how many years I've been walking into locker rooms, and I already know, such and such is not happy. They might have won the game, but he only got 3 or 4 catches, and he's not a happy camper.
You know the post-game puss then. That's what it's called. The post-game puss. Look at that guy. He got 1 catch, 3 targets, and he's pissed off, and we won.
That's right. And there's so many of them are like that. Come on. As long as I've been around the game, come on. They've always been like that. And I'm telling you, a lot of guys you think are, they're team players. I'm going, yeah, he's team. When he gets his 5, he gets his 10 catches. He's team. But I don't know if you're ever going to be real to change that because, the Eagles had some guys. I mean, they won a lot last year. And they got guys that are really team-oriented. But I saw them pouting when they wasn't all thrilled, and they had 2 catches and 3 catches. So I don't know if you ever can really get all the way away from that.
How about this one here? Are you more concerned? There's something that's a real thing here with the upcoming season. What are you more concerned with? The new coordinators or the toughest schedule in the league?
That's a good question.
I mean, because think about what you have here. With all the talent on the team, you got new dudes in the building on both sides of the ball calling plays on offense and defense, and you have the toughest schedule in the NFL. Boy, that's quite a hill to climb. I know you got all this talent.
Yeah.
I know you love your coach, but this team has – where I'm going, Gary, is this team really hasn't faced a lot of adversity in the last year and a half.
I think that the offensive and defensive coordinators, I think they're most important because I think if this team, if they're playing at the level that they can play at, schedule, whatever, they'll be able to take care of business. They'll be one of the better teams in the league as long as everything is done the way it's supposed to be done there. So I would say that because I don't think that even though it's a tough schedule and everything, I think the Eagles can handle themselves. They'll be fine as long as they play the way they're capable of playing. They're not going to win them all, but they will be one of the top teams in the league. I'm very confident of that, and I think ultimately that's the most important thing. So as long as these guys do their job properly, have these guys ready to play, I think they'll be fine, even with that tough schedule. And because they're going to be injuries, things are going to happen to some of those other teams. Some of the teams that were good last year won't be good this year. So they just handle their business. I think they'll be fine.
All right. Last question for you. It's the offseason. It's time to work on deficiencies.
Yeah.
What is the one weakness right now of Jalen Hurts' game?
The one weakness. Boy. The biggest thing is
what's the thing you'd like to see him get better at?
The only thing concerns me is the running. Maybe he likes to run a little too much. I've liked the way his touch. He's developed a touch. With with putting a little air under the ball, taking something off of it. I'm not really concerned about anything with regards to Jalen Hurts. The only thing I'm concerned about is him staying healthy. That's all I'm concerned about with him. I think, if he plays the way he played last year, I mean, he's putting that ball on there. He's gotten better in all these areas. That's the startling thing is, come on, his touch was awful at times where he throw the ball too hard, but he'll take stuff off the ball now, drop it in there, put some air on it, let it drop in there. I mean, he just come so far. If he can play like he did last year, just stay healthy, Jalen. Just stay healthy, man.
How about this, Gary?
Yeah.
Do you think that one of the things that and God, man, you've played against Elway and Montana and all these superstar players.
Yeah.
Do you think once these guys take those elevated leaps and those steps, they become smaller once you make that first step from 1 to 3? Now you're making these smaller steps. Do you agree that the more experience and the more you see the game, the more patient you become with the game,
Mm-hmm.
and you allow the game to come to you, and you have more of a relaxed mentality. I'm not saying you're not motivated. I'm saying you see it slower. Would that be something that, because maybe it's just more reps? Because remember, Gary, he's only had one great season here.
Yeah.
So probably just being even more patient, because like you say, hey, I don't want you running all the time.
Okay.
Maybe that's a comfort zone that still has to be worked on, because you know why? What do you resort to every single, just like when me and you were playing, hey, I don't want to play that guy's technique because I'm really not good at that technique. So we always resort back to the one that we have success with.
That's right.
To make that play. Is that kind of where he is right now in his evolution?
Well, the thing that it's amazing to me is the way everything has slowed down for him. He's seeing everything and able to make the decision where, you're saying, boy, is he going to get that ball out in time? Soup, it's out, So I just think that everything is slowing down to him. And I think, the more reps he gets, I know what all the other guys they step up on that level, most of them have stayed there for just about their whole career. So I would anticipate that he's going to be there. And, I feel comfortable with the fact that, the game is slowing down to him. He's seeing everything clearly. He's able to make decisions. And I think he can say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to take any chances. I know I can't. I got to stay healthy for these guys. So he'll run, be smarter about running too. When to run, when not to run and everything. Because that's usually what happens. The guys are better with the ball the older they get, the quarterback. And normally the quarterback, he continues to get better and better and better. And he's still nowhere near his peak time.
Gary,
so
I'm going to sneak one more in on you here.
Yeah.
What kind of process and how long do you think it's going to take? Because first and foremost, do you agree that anytime you make a change of coordinator, there is trust, but there is there's like a comfort zone that you're trying to get in with that coordinator. Mm-hmm. Because Steichen, one thing for Shane and Jalen, they had a pretty cool chemistry. And I guess maybe that's the word I'm looking for. How are we going to anticipate? Like, because I don't think they're just going to dive off the diving board together and these guys and things are just going to go as smooth as it was a year ago. Or maybe you do.
It might be a little
how long of a process is that? Do you think that comfort zone is going to take?
Well, of course, I can't say that, because I haven't had the headphones on where I'm listening to what they're saying, and how that play went in and everything. But, you got the quarterback coach is now the offensive coordinator who's calling the plays. And he was in Jalen's ear already during games. He was already in his ear. So I don't see the big change. There is going to be some subtle change. And then Nick was in Steichen's ear all the time, tell him, hey, after every series, hey, maybe we need to do this a little more. I want to see us go. We probably need to run this play, So,
do you think Nick's going to have more of a say this year? Or how about this, more input?
Well, he's always been listening all the time, so he can give him input. That's why I think he's got the new offensive coordinator's got a better chance of having a smooth transition to taking over, because Nick was listening to all the plays go in last year too. See, and he was listening, and both of them were listening all the time. So now I don't think it's going to be a big difference. I think they can stay things a lot in the same way, because Nick always had a lot of input in the plays that were being called. He would talk to him after every series. See, hey, what about this? Let's get this in. Let's get that in. So I think there's going to be a pretty smooth transition offensively. I think they got a bigger challenge defensively because their defensive coordinator was not here last year. He's new. He wasn't listening to the calls go in. So I think they got more of a challenge on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive, because a lot of the guys that were participating in the play calling, they're back. They're back. Steichen's gone, but all the other guys are back. So I think they can replicate a lot of what was happening last year, because they were listening to everything last year, and they were hearing the plays go in and everything. And I think they got a feel, and probably will try to kind of stay in sync with a lot of the things they were doing last year. So,
well, that being said, then Gary, do you think that would you give all that control to Nakobe Dean, who's never done it? I mean, that's a pretty big ask. Hey, by the way, I think no one's asked that question. Okay, yeah. Who's going to set the fronts? Who's going to make the calls? Who's going to set the defense? Are you really going to put it on a guy who hasn't seen any of that and doesn't have any game experience?
I know, yeah.
Is he going to be the play caller out there on defense?
I think he is. I think he is. Like I said,
that's a big responsibility.
I know, you're right. And from talking to him, the kid is smart. Like, you know, I asked him a question, and I see the other guys looking at me, you know, that I would ask him. Basically, I said, hey, Nakobe, what do you see as the difference between, you know, the college game, these college offenses, and these pro offenses? What's the difference? And he started getting into the differences about the fact that, you know, the pro offenses, you know, they'll spread you out, and, you know, and you got a tough tight end to cover. You got these wide receivers, you know, and they could throw the ball, but they could attack you with the running game. But he said that most of the time in college, the teams did one or the other. See, either they were going to throw the ball or they're going to run the ball. Few of them were able to do both of them well. See, so they had a strength. But in the pros, they could spread you out and run the ball all day long, you know, or they could spread you out and they're picking you apart with the passing game. And he's got a good feel for that, you know, and I just let him talk. So
Gary, don't you think that's one of the reasons why some of the experienced quarterbacks have eaten this defense up the last 2 years is because of the inexperience on the coaching staffs that they have? There's a lot of young dudes that are on both sides of the football. Mm-hmm. And to me, every time they line up against an experienced guy, those quarterbacks eat them up.
Yeah, you know, because you got to you need guys that can subtly create problems for the quarterback. They, you know, even though he has a good idea of what coverage you're in, you got to be able to subtly change things, and you got to trick him sometimes, because that's what's going to, you know, make him uneasy. If he lets go of a ball and all of a sudden somebody's somewhere where they weren't supposed to be, see. And unless you're able to make that happen, he feels comfortable where he comes out right away. He knows what you're in. Then, you know, he's going to pick you apart, you know, because, you know, if he knows what coverage you're in, he knows where he's going with the ball. And a lot of them will be patient, take what you give them, and march right down the field on you. So it's tough. It's tough. And you know, really the way they call things is they want more points. So
I'm going to sneak one last one. I promise you this will be the last one here. When it comes to Nolan Smith, do you think it'd be in the best interest to start the season with him behind Hassan Reddick and have him play behind him? And as he sees the game more and more, you know, he goes in for Reddick, or he just plays behind him, how he prepares, how he lines up, how he's looking at the techniques. And as the season goes on, maybe you give him some reps on the other side. Or do you want to try to get both those missiles on the field at the same time? Because to me, experience, Gary, playing behind an experienced guy and watching how he plays the game and his alignments, how he cheats, maybe he cheats on an alignment, head up, 2 technique, 3 technique, what have you.
Yes.
What would be the best for his development?
Well, you know, they've already started where they introduced him. They're already talking now, you know, because every time he's able to see what Hassan does, in fact, you know, he's got a great situation because he's able to come into the pro game and just study what he should look like. This is what he should be doing. This is the way he should be attacking these big offensive tackles, you know. And Hassan does a great job of, he uses his speed, which is the advantage they have, and then they're both able to come around that corner, and they're so low to the ground. They're so close to the ground. The big offensive tackles a lot of them can't hardly get down there, especially moving at that type of speed coming around that corner. So I don't think they have to really worry about him going right behind him and everything. He's going to be watching everything he does. He's learning from him in practice now. And he's got a great benefit in that you've got a guy who is really a carbon copy of you, and you're able to see how he exploits his speed, his quickness and everything against these offensive tackles. So it's a great situation for him to be able to come into, and he's going to get a chance to see him all year long and really benefit from that. That's a great thing. But I think the only thing about it is they got to let Josh Sweat play because, he's probably their best, most complete defensive end. And the son of a gun is going to be getting to the quarterback too. So they got to let Josh Sweat play.
That's right, because what you don't want to do is stunt his development because he's getting better and better.
Yes, he is.
You all of a sudden start taking reps from him now.
Yeah. But you know what?
You worry about that.
They got a great problem because Nolan has got the kind of speed. I don't think many guys have seen a guy come around that corner like this kid can. And he's going to be a better pro than he was a college player because a lot of those big tackles, this is the thing they dread. They probably get no sleep with this kid coming down as low as he is to the ground, coming around that corner at that speed. He's going to be trouble for those big tackles.
All right, Gary, I got to get you out of here on this one. Your take on Nick Nurse being named 76er coach. Just a quick one there on that. I said this, Gary, doesn't matter.
The whole thing with him and Harden, that's what it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Harden. That's the whole talk about. But, he's got to get these guys. They got to be able to play, man, when, really you play all year. They got to have these guys playing at their best, man, when it's on the line. You cannot get blown out and embarrassed like that. You just cannot have that happen.
Celtics get blown out on their own floor like that last night. I tell you,
I got to give the Heat credit, man. They got some guys that's got some heart, boy, because they could have rolled up and just went through the motions, but they came out, man. They play hard. And
every time you see Jimmy Butler, do you throw up now? I mean, that guy was a Sixer. Man.
No way they should have let him go,
Tobias Harris.
The reason they let him go is the reason they should have kept him, because he has a strong opinion. He's going to give you his opinion. He's not afraid of you to give you his opinion.
Did you see him and Spoelstra almost get into a fight this year?
Yeah.
On the side, Spoelstra threw the clipboard down. These two guys almost came to blows.
But see, they be able to get over that when they get into the locker room. But the thing is, he knows, look, this guy wants to win, man. And he's a fighter. And he makes sure all these other guys are ready to fight every time they put on their uniform. And that's why they're in the finals now, man. And they had him right here. And the reason they let him go, because he got real strong with one of the guys, whatever, and it intimidated them. They're going, oh, we don't know about him. What right now, that's what you need. You need somebody to go, look, hey, if you come in this locker room now, you better be ready to play, or we're going to fight in here before we go out.
Hey, that's a dog mentality, man.
That's a dog. Gary, that's a dog mentality. That's right.
Thank you, my friend, so much for the time, man. You spent a lot of time. Hope they had a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you. Anytime you need anything from us, I so appreciate it, my friend.
No problem, man. You have a good one.
You got it. That is the great Gary Cobb. Absolutely, man. Hey, Jimmy was let go because he got in Ben Simmons' ass. I'll say it. And now that you know what Snowflake's all about, can you imagine? Dude, I saw that with Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler. I don't know. You guys have to Google it. They're on the side, and Spoelstra told him to run something. I guess he had a bitch with him about it. And those two guys, they started getting in each other's face. I thought they were going to throw hands. And I went like this. Dude, if that's not Pat Riley mentality, I want 53 dudes like that on my football team. Those are the kind of guys I want, that you'll come to blows, man. And you won't tolerate losing. Hey, does it make it a very intense locker room? And you should be living your entire life in professional sports on the edge. Never in a comfort zone. That's how I've always looked at it. You should be living with a sense of urgency every single time that you are on a professional field or court or ice. You got to have that mentality. Ben Simmons is worried about his Instagram horse. Okay? Jimmy Graham is worrying about Larry O'Brien trophies. Hey, Philly, you chose wrong. Okay, to quote an Indiana Jones movie, he chose poorly. Hour 2, Kevin Frazier from Entertainment Tonight. I have a Jalen Carter topic here, something that was told to me yesterday by my secret source inside the NovaCare Center. I'll tell you what that was next. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Score and save in Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing, the second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs, and then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Stills. Hour number 2. Our friend Kevin Frazier, who worked with me at Fox Sports. Man, I think he's been at Entertainment Tonight for 15, 16 years now. Will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk some sports with him, get his thoughts on the NFL, get his thoughts on the NBA Finals. By the way, I saw a comment that Keyshawn, people have been peppering me with it because they know the kind of comments that I make when it comes to race baiting. This is race baiting. Keyshawn Johnson saying that Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. I would have been okay with him saying he's more experienced than Joe Burrow. But to say that he's a better talent than Joe Burrow is race baiting. Okay, so what does he think? Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback also than Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow is one of the greatest prospects I've seen come into the NFL and fulfill and change a culture around that's a horrible culture in Cincinnati. Okay? Dak Prescott better than Joe Burrow? So you're trying to tell me you'd build your franchise around Dak Prescott instead of Joe Burrow? Really? Okay, look, and get this. Has Big Sil said things to get reactions? Sometimes, sure. If you have a profound take and you truly, but I'll tell you something about some of the takes that I have. Most of them, I would say 99.9%, I really believe them. Okay? I really believe them. I'm not just going to go out and go, well, you know, this guy here. Like, I try to be as fair as I possibly can when I'm talking. Like, look, you know what somebody, you know what some of the idiots still are saying about me talking about Jalen Hurts, that I was bashing him. Me? Bashing Jalen? You mean like 99.9% of everybody else, including Nick Saban, was doing until he had that year last year. Oh, okay. Then if I'm in the crew with Nick Saban and everyone else, then so be it. You're right. You got me. If I'm in the group that everyone said he wasn't a first rounder and that it was a joke of a second rounder, then I'm in the group with you. You also bashed him when you said the Eagles effed up by drafting him in the second round. Okay? So don't tell me about like saying things that were not profound or that I'm just race baiting or doing. Like Stephen A. Smith and Keyshawn, they're professional race baiters. Hey, there's money in it. You just don't have to have a soul to do it. Okay, you just don't have to have a soul, because using race, again, my problem in my career has been three things have always been part of my program: race, politics, and religion. And anytime you float on those lines, people are going to dissect it and categorize you any way they want, no matter what you say or do. So the best thing to do is not respond, because you know, at the end of the day, you can't battle with people who have low foreheads and can't think. You know one of the biggest comments that, and really compliments that Tone gives me every day: Big Sills makes you think. That's all I've ever tried to do. I've never tried to use race to get a reaction out of someone. I'll respond to it. And if you ask me a question, I'll give you my opinion. That's race baiting. Dak Prescott is a better quarterback. Where in your right mind would you even remotely think that? Dude, Trevor Lawrence is better than Dak. Trevor Lawrence is better. Let's see who else. Lamar Jackson is superior. Jalen's better than Dak. Jalen Hurts. So under Keyshawn Johnson's mentality, okay, he's picking those guys over Burrow. For what reason now? What has Dak done? He's Kirk Cousins. Wins a lot of games in the regular season, puts up a lot of yards, and goes nowhere with it. Between Kirk Cousins and Dak Prescott, they're the guys that fill up their tanks for a weekend trip and stay at their house and go nowhere. Okay? I mean, it's preposterous. Dude, Jalen's better than Dak now. Okay, could Dak have a great year, especially if they land Hopkins? Absolutely. Why does that shit always, man, why does that shit always have to pop? You know, I'm talking like a white guy, though, so that's not fair for me to say that. So I get it. I'm not black, and I haven't been shit on the majority of this country and how they shit on minorities and women. So you're right. I shouldn't speak like that because I have no place to. But Jesus criminy. Again, I can't, you know what? Sonny, it's funny. I like to say this sometimes. I like to get to a place one day when we don't, but we'll never. It's just never going to get there. It just will never get there. And maybe it's rightfully so. But I do think there's a reason that the majority of the highest paid players in the league right now are African American. And I do believe that that's progress. Nobody's going to. Do you know my friend Doug Williams was given, after taking the Buccaneers 4 times out of 5 years to the playoffs? You know, Hugh Culverell's offered him a $250,000 deduction in his salary. That's why he left for the USFL. He didn't want to leave Tampa, but he had to, and his wife had just died. That's racism, because you didn't want to be the face of your league. And that's why it took him forever to put Doug into the Ring of Honor in Tampa. Okay? That, to me, is racism. Let me get off that. I mean, because it's a stupid... You know what? I don't even know why I rolled down that. I really don't. Look, you're right. Let's completely move on from that, because it's an idiotic conversation. Okay? His wife died and they tried to cut his pay too. Absolutely, Neil. That's what they did. Doug's been on this program. He's one of my dearest and closest friends, Doug Williams. Do you know I cried? I cried when he won the MVP in San Diego. I cried. There was 11 seconds left, and I saw him standing there, and he was named the MVP. I said, what were you thinking? Surely you were saying, fuck you, Hugh. You know what Doug said? Nah. It's all in the journey, Sills. It was all in the journey. Man, I have so great feelings for Doug Williams. I love that guy. Him and Leroy Salmon are 2 of my best friends when I lived in Tampa. 2 of my best friends. Leroy was just totally the greatest person I've ever met, outside of my grandpa. Okay, outside of my grandpa, Leroy's the greatest person I've ever met. All right. Let's roll into D-Hop here before I give you the Jalen Carter news. Mr. Sills, thanks for letting me on your show. Calvin, thank you for being part of it. Hopefully you had a great Memorial Day weekend. Okay? Colin, don't tell anyone that. Colin, don't be telling people that shit. And don't let Tone tell you to. Don't be saying that out loud, especially in Philly. Don't call me weak. By the way, I watched The Equalizer. Denzel Washington has completely now solidified himself as my favorite actor. Man, I love that guy. Training Day, The Equalizer, shit, Glory. He's my favorite actor of all. Denzel Washington's my favorite actor. Holy cow. You just saw The Equalizer. Yes. Okay, Tone, I'm a little behind the time. Man, I love that movie, man. The 3rd one is coming out this year. Dude, I'm working on number 2 tonight. Dude, he's a G, man. I love Denzel Washington's my favorite actor. Him and Marlon Brando. God, I love those guys. All right, let me get on to D-Hop before I get on to the news. And don't forget, Kevin Frazier from Entertainment Tonight is going to be on with us. So do me a favor, guys. You know, he's a co-host of one of the most popular television magazine shows. Try not to make me look bad. Okay? I just saw the assistant just sent us an email, me and Tone. Okay? So, like, you know, I don't need him going on Entertainment Tonight talking shit on me. So help me out here, okay? Pump me up. Even if you, hey, by the way, JM, all you guys, even if you have to lie, just for a segment, that's all I'm asking. Just, even if you, no promises, wait a minute. Even if you guys have to lie, I don't care. I just can't have anybody going on Entertainment Tonight talking shit on me. I have enough of that as it is. Yeah. All right. So here, let me do this. D-Hop. From what I'm understanding, Okay, the teams that are really making a push are the Chiefs and Bills. Okay, the Chiefs and Bills are in substantial talks from what I'm being told. What does that mean? Okay, and some people are going, Sills, he wants $23 million. He ain't getting that. Coming off a knee injury, 31 years old, he's not getting $23 million and a multi-year deal on May 30th, when most teams' caps are through the roof already, and most teams' caps are set. So you could take the $23 million out of the building. Now, do I think he gets between 13 and 15? Yes. And if I were his representative, I would take a one-year deal. Then I would go into the offseason and I would negotiate with multiple teams who don't have their cap set when teams start firing people during free agency. Doesn't that make more sense? If you were going to sell your house, think of this. It's bad timing, Fly is right. So let me ask you something. If you were going to sell your house and your house is valued at $2 million, would you sell your house when the market only has two people in it? Shit, man. I'd go like this. I'll give you 10 grand for it. Next guy goes, I'll give you 30 grand. I'll give you 100 grand. I'll give you 120,000. You're looking around going, anyone else? There isn't anyone else. So you sold your house, but you sold it for like $1.9 million, what you didn't want to sell it for. Why wouldn't you do this? Well, how many buyers do I have? Well, I got 50 now. Okay. Now I'm going to get my $2 million. The market right now is not there for $23 million. Now, unless somebody panics, somebody goes like this. Well, Sills, the Eagles aren't going to pay $23 million, nor is anyone else. For the record, he's not getting that. Why would three teams bid against themselves to put $23 million on the book? On a 3-year contract for a 31-year-old guy. Why would you do that? And the majority of the teams right now that have that kind of money suck. So you want to go and chase a bag of money. Now, some guys will. Some guys will. That's why I say, well, the Eagles are out of it. I don't necessarily believe that. It's going to be more of a desire. You know, it's so easy to say this. The Eagles have no interest. If you told me that a general manager said that I have no interest in DeAndre Hopkins, I would fire that GM. So if I could get DeAndre Hopkins on a 1-year contract to help me win the Super Bowl, not get to the Super Bowl, win it, well, I don't need him. I'd rather have Quez. That comment right there makes you look stupid. Makes you look stupid. Again, this is a process. Dallas overpays. Could they do it? I'll tell you this. Dallas may be in really a good place right now. I'll tell you why. I would never have given Odell Beckham $15 million on a 1-year deal. No freaking way. For the last 5 years, that guy's banged up. Not happening. Would I give DeAndre Hopkins $15 million if I was Dallas? I would have totally given him. Personally, I think the Cardinals cut him when they had the last second to cut him. Because I'm saying this to you. They just wanted to make sure I would rather have Dallas have Odell Beckham on their team than DeAndre Hopkins. Okay? Hopkins can still play. He still has the best hands in the NFL. That's not going to go away. Shit, I think Chris Carter. Hey, watch this. I think Chris Carter still has the best hands in the NFL. He just can't play because his body can't, and he's older. But I think that guy still has. I think if you have great hands, you have great hands no matter how old you are. Okay? That just doesn't go. Like Gronk has great hands no matter how old he gets. That guy has great hands. Okay? It's if your body can hold up. So this notion that teams, well, he's out of their price range. Dude, how many teams are in financial restraints right now because their cap is set? See here, why do you think Howie Roseman has $13 million left? Because Howie, he budgeted his money. He has extra money after the draft. They really didn't spend any money in free agency like they did a year ago. So he has somewhat of a surplus for the defending NFC champions to have a surplus and not be over the cap and be destroyed like Tampa is, or New Orleans, or places, Dallas, is remarkable. And it's well done. But do you know why he has $13 million? Because on June 13th or 15th, guess who has to show up to mandatory OTAs? Do you guys know? Devin White. And do you know why he has to show up to mandatory? Because there is an $11 million bonus tied to that. And the Bucs are over the cap now. How are you going to give that player an $11 million bonus on June 13th? Their camp is 13th and 15th, and it's mandatory. Neil goes, he's under contract. You cut him before that, Neil. And you take the $26 million cap hit versus paying the salary of 20 and the bonus of 11. That's exactly what the Cardinals did. The Cardinals are not going to pay $19 million and the $27 million cap hit. That would have been a $45 million nut on one player. They went like this. We'll take the cap hit. And they got rid of the salary. In theory, they're tanking. The Cardinals are tanking. Okay? I told you this. The Cardinals were never in a million years. Never in a million years going to keep him. They couldn't afford it. You're going to have Colt McCoy, a $2 quarterback, throw into a $20 million receiver. That was never going to happen. Kyler Murray's not back until week 8. So, when people say well, the price tag's too big for Hopkins, I don't believe that to be true. Because I do not believe, again, this is what I would. So, let me ask you this. If you know in the offseason you can get $23 million and right now you want to go to would you not want to go to a winning environment right now? Say you don't catch the footballs you want, or do you want to go to a losing environment, catch 100 footballs and be on a 4-13 team? Would you rather do that? Some guys would, I guess. Or would you rather catch 60 passes in Philly, making $12 million or $11 million for 1 year? You become a free agent on February 7th or whatever it is, March 16th. You become a free agent and you sign a multi-year deal because you had 60 catches and 790 yards being the third wheel. And you're recouping from your injury of a year ago. That's the best of both worlds. That's the best of both worlds for him. You're going to, hey, you know why he wants why do you guys think he wants a multi-year deal? Because he's not going to be 100% come September. Coming off a knee injury? You think DeAndre Hopkins right now is a 3. He is a 3. Why? Because he's still rehabbing. DeAndre Hopkins next year will be the 1 again. Everyone's looking at this wrong. So wait, he gets to go and make $12 or $13 million in Philly on a 1-year deal. He doesn't have to be the focal point. He continues to rehab his knee. Looks great in the process. Shows he's a great teammate. Then goes out in the open market and DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins again. DeAndre Hopkins, I'll tell you what, if you're the Eagles, you'd be like, damn. Or you trade him. What if you trade him? You ever think about trading him? Trading deadline? You ever think about trading him at the trading deadline? Team comes in, overpays, wants to give you a 1 for him. How do you know he won't be back to being top form at the trading deadline? And somebody comes in, parachutes in, and wants to trade for the guy. You could turn around and take that guy, maybe get yourself a safety. Maybe you could turn around and get yourself a top flight linebacker and trade that guy for that. And you not only get the player at a good value, but you get a player back in return. And most likely a younger player at a need position. How in the world are you not thinking that? This Hopkins deal, you got to think like Howie. They can offer him, they say, the same opportunity in Kansas City. True. I think Philadelphia's got a better team than Kansas City. Here's what they offer me. Okay, watch this. But if you're Kansas City, why would you pay him $15 million? You just proved to yourself you can win the Super Bowl with Juju Smith-Schuster. Why in the world would I pay that? You're damn right Kansas City can offer that. You're dang right. See, Kansas City can offer that to DeAndre Hopkins because you know why? They got Mahomes in the building. You don't have to overpay. They proved that they could win a Super Bowl with Juju Smith-Schuster. Why would I pay that guy $20 million when I don't need him? They just got rid of Tyreek Hill. Hill's down in Miami making $25 million. They beat you with a bunch of bums in Kansas City. Think of that. You got Andy Reid and Mahomes. That sells itself. That's a value to a player like Hopkins. I got to tell you guys a story here real quick before I bring Kevin Frazier on here. Man, one of the most versatile people I have ever run into, and I will tell you, he'll tell you he's not good on radio. I disagree. We helped start Fox Sports Radio. He's on ESPN, Fox, and he's like my friend Kevin Cork. Kevin Cork is now flying around at Air Force One eating like lobster. And so I'm going like, Kevin, what do you? He goes, yeah, I just had a lobster on Air Force One. You won't believe it. I go, little different than over at Lincoln Financial, ain't it, with the media plate. My boy Kevin Frazier, though, can you imagine the media meal you get at the Oscars instead of going to SoFi? Let's bring him in right now. He joins us here. So,
it's funny. It's funny you say that because the media meal is much better at SoFi because you get a little box at the Oscars. It's not a sweet dinner. They have a little platter set out and everything, or you can get the little box at the Oscars. It's not a big meal. You know, at the award shows, the meals are not that great. And I say that as someone who, you know, my always favorite meal was Camden Yards and the crab cakes. The ladies there who make the crab cakes at Camden Yards, and I don't know if they've stopped because it's been a few years, is the best meal in the media world. 100%.
I love that, man. Kev, tell me this as we get into some sports talk here.
Yeah.
Why has the NFL become the most watched property that these networks have? I've talked to Sean McManus, and he goes, the NFL is now our biggest investments now with streaming and everything. Why has this overtaken? Is it because it's the most watched reality television show? Give me your take on why NFL dominates the ratings now.
The NFL dominates because it is the freshest, newest, and most beloved thing there is. People are tribal, right? People want to belong to something. And, you know, you can belong to the housewives, you know, you can belong to the basketball wives, but really from birth, from coming out of your mama's womb, many people have an allegiance to these teams. And And that's where I get the tribal thing from. People love their teams. It's ingrained. I grew up as a Baltimore Colts fan. I love the Baltimore Colts. When they moved the Colts to Indianapolis, it tore my heart out as a 12-year-old kid. It made me for 3 years hate the NFL because I hated the Irsay family, because I was like, you tore my heart out. I watched my mayor, William Donald Schaefer, with tears in his eyes, talk about the Colts left. And so communities are built around their football teams. But I will say this. In that tribal sense, it once upon a time was baseball too. That's slipping. And NBA has slid up in there. And I also think that you have to look at what's happening with soccer in this country and the MLS. As the demographics of our country change and the people who cover sports change, you will begin to see that the world has started to look out at soccer too and see how it changes the conversations. The conversation. I challenge all of my sports friends, especially you, Dan. I challenge everybody to start talking about what's happening with soccer, because it's a big deal.
Let me and I know you're plugging the team in Los Angeles,
LAFC champions.
Here's been my take always when it comes to how I look at sports. So I used to rip NASCAR all the time, Kev, and I used to rip it. And then finally, the Daytona 500 folks called me and says, why don't you come out here? I looked around and I saw 300,000 fans in the stands. And I went, well, I think this is on me. This is on me not being able to cover it just because I don't know. I after that, Kev, I went to 8 straight, broadcast my show there because I didn't want to not be part of something like that, because to me, again, just because I don't have an affection for it. And it's one thing streaming has taught me, Kev.
Yep.
If somebody's not interested in something, they are out. Unlike radio and TV, where you have to wait for the ratings come in, you know immediately what's going on. And so that kind of taught me a little bit. So why? But then tell me, why hasn't soccer ever really grabbed a foothold? Is it because it costs too much money?
No. There's two reasons. One, the American men have sucked. Let's just be honest. Our national team has been hot garbage, and that's because we have not harvested the best talent in this country. There's a lot of talent in this country. It's just not making it up to the top because that talent is being blocked. It's the most sinister system. Whereas in football, if you're good, they come get you. And there's a football team you can go play for because they come get you. And so that's a big difference. Same deal with basketball. They come get you. With soccer, there's a hierarchy and a paywall that everybody hits, and you got to be able to get over that paywall. If you can't, you won't make it. You won't get seen. And that's how come the best players aren't being seen. It's changing, though. It's changing. But also, number two, we have a generation of sportscasters who grew up in this country on baseball, basketball, football, and a little bit of hockey. And you know it. Everybody has their thing they love, and they don't know. So people are afraid to touch what they don't know. But if you have 100,000 people in the Rose Bowl watching a game, then you have to figure that out. And the fact that sometimes the news ignores that, it's ludicrous. It is literally ludicrous, because we're talking about college football. I mean, LAFC, they sell out every game. You're talking about 20,000 every game. And so it becomes a thing of like, are you really a sports authority, or are you just talking about the sports you like? And it's something I learned, by the way, Dan, coming over here, because I thought I knew everything when I came to Entertainment Tonight. And then I learned that I'm looking at things through a very different lens. This show comes from a female perspective. So I wasn't necessarily a Housewives fan. I can tell you all about them now. I might not have been a fan of certain other shows. I can tell you all about it now. I can tell you what kind of shoes people are wearing. I can tell you who makes that dress. I can name every single designer, because that's what I do, and that's part of my job. And so I just think it's important that everybody look at everything that's going on.
Kev, do you think that sportscasters in the sports industry itself, do you think that we're too, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but narrow-focused, as what you're saying?
We are.
Well, I mean, it's like ruler radio or ruler TV. You're here because, again, best foreign film. You got to know the names. It's almost like you got to. I would think that's even tougher than hockey with some of them hockey names.
Listen, when you're at the Oscars and people are coming at you, it's a lot. it's a lot because you don't know, who's next, who's coming up next. Oh, that person is best supporting actor for a little tiny foreign film, or that person over there is, they're the wardrobe stylist for one of the films, and so these are all the things that you have to learn and know. I do Married at First Sight, and I love the show and I love the experiment, but and it's funny how many people have come and said, oh, Kev, Married at First Sight, we watch it, but that's a different kind of show. And so, but I have to sit down and I've watched every single show, every single hour from the beginning. So I just think that there is such a narrow focus in sports, and the NFL is the cash cow today. But this is how you get caught, when people get caught and they're like, oh, we missed this curve coming. There are people who miss the curve of NASCAR, and there are people who are going to miss this soccer curve that's coming, because now there are kids who grow up watching the English Premier League. We can see a guy playing at Chelsea as easily as we can see the Chargers. And it's an interesting dynamic now. Everything is changing.
Kevin, why hasn't LeBron James had the same impact television ratings wise on the NBA that Michael Jordan had?
Two different times. And the product
more platforms?
More platforms, it's more spread out, but LeBron James has had an incredible impact on the ratings. Here's what people don't understand about LeBron James, and it kind of makes me angry that they don't acknowledge this enough. LeBron James has been in the spotlight since he's been 16 years old. Throughout that time, he has managed to relatively stay out of trouble. He has been a front-facing face of the NBA,
his model,
a role model, an incredible father. I mean, look, give this man a credit for what he's done as a father, as a family man, and also a businessman. He came to Hollywood. He has built a business that is producing movies, television, podcasts, streaming stuff. So LeBron has diversified. And then let's look at his charity, the school he built, the millions he gives out. So when we say that, why haven't the ratings impacted like they did with Michael Jordan? It was a different time. You didn't have basketball was just on one of the main 3 channels. It was just starting to move to TNT. And so you had that. And also,
plus Bird and Magic were a great warm-up show.
Yeah, but LeBron has kept the NBA as a stable product and been the face of this product for 20 plus years. Think about that. For 20 plus years, this guy has stood front and center and done his job and been someone that you can be proud of to represent your product. How
is LeBron, in your eyes, the GOAT of the NBA?
I think that LeBron is as the total picture. Because I hate when people try to say, who's the greatest player of all time? You can't compare eras because different guys would have done different things. Who knows what Bill Russell would have been if he was playing now? Bill Russell might have been Kawhi. He might not have just been a defensive player. So you can't compare guys through ages. Don't try to do that, people. You drive yourselves crazy. What I say is that LeBron has been a role model. And we talk about people, they say, oh, don't call me a role model. Don't make me The most important thing LeBron James has done has been a role model to all these young men who have come along, to all these people who can look at him and say, we trust you with our products, we trust you with our millions of dollars, and we trust that you will do it in the best way. And he's done it with his core group of friends. And these young men, these young black men, they have grown up as a group, and they have cracked the code of the business world in Hollywood and so many other things. So I'm not going to call him the GOAT. What I'm going to call him is a role model and one of the greatest marketers. I look at Magic Johnson and I put LeBron right there with Magic Johnson. What Magic has done as a businessman and as an owner. Magic as an owner has won 10 championships as an owner. So I look at that and I look at LeBron and I just say, well done, bravo. You are role models. You are something to aspire to for people who look like you.
Here's how I do it, Kev. I look at the journey, and LeBron is complex in his journey because he became the first guy who became a mobile athlete, where he was the first guy to take the slings and arrows to go, hey, this organization's not putting the people around me I'm going to go and I'm going to become a champion here. Hey, I'm going to go here. Whereas maybe it's a generational thing where you watch some of these guys like Dominique Wilkins or Clyde Drexler or Jordan. They went to one place. They had a journey. They didn't get it done. And it was just part of their history and their story. It's almost like LeBron, he was so worried about his legacy. He wasn't going to let anything. And I think this even goes into what we're watching right now with the finals. Like, he didn't want to stay in Miami. And in my opinion, I think he left 3 NBA championships in Miami because there's a culture that is the best culture he's ever been part of. You had Pat Riley, the best coach in the NBA is Eric Spoelstra. And to me, he didn't want to stay there, where I think he left 3 on the table and maybe would have had more than MJ.
But wait a minute. I don't even see. And this is where we differ, because I say he showed his integrity by going there, and he won, and he got something that he needed, an NBA championship. But then he returned to the place he loved, the place that gave him everything, where he grew up, and he said, I'm going to win this one for y'all. That's why he cried like a baby when he won that one in Cleveland. He never cried when he was in Miami, but when he won that one in Cleveland, he cried like a baby because that was personal. That was what he did for the state, for the city, for his community. He went back there with the weight of the world on his shoulders to deliver something special for them. That's why you look at that block he made late in the game, in game 6, when they won the title. You look at that block he made on Iguodala, and that typifies the heart and soul of a man who gave everything to bring a championship to his people. So I say it's even bigger that he left Miami, because that was about integrity and giving back to the people who gave to you. He said, I got this off my shoulder now. I'm a champion, and now I can come back and share this with you. He could have been selfish and lived down in Miami and done his own thing forever. He could have been selfish, but it was a selfless move to make that move that he did by going home.
All right, who do you like in the finals, Nuggets or Heat?
I refuse to count out the Heat now. We keep counting them out every round. We're like, the Heat can't do it. There's no way in hell that they win another game. There's no way in hell that they beat so-and-so, and then they come out and they prove you wrong. This is what I don't understand. Caleb Martin and his brother made Nevada a top 5 team. And at one point, I believe they were actually number 1 in the nation. And then people overlook these kids. And this is what I don't understand. It's the new shiny toy always in the NBA draft. And they overlook the guy who has actually done it and brought a program to prominence. And so I don't understand how Caleb Martin was so overlooked, and how people thought he couldn't get it done, because the kid got it done in Nevada, where it was just him and his brother. And they carried a squad on their back. Eric Musselman needs to send them a card and a kiss every single day that he gets that big check at Arkansas, because they helped get him over the hump. They were a perfect match for each other. So I just say that to say that you can't count these guys out anymore. They have dudes walking on the court that you're like, who in the hell is that? Who are you? But you know what? And they're playing their butts off. And so I can't count the Heat out. So I refuse to go out on a limb, because everybody's going out on a limb. Oh, Denver's going to win this because the Joker is this and that and this. And Bam Adebayo can't guard the Joker. La la. Okay. We said the same thing about Cleveland. We said the same thing about the Bucks. Ain't no way. We keep saying the same dumb stuff over and over again. Shut up and enjoy it. Let's watch it and enjoy it.
Okay, this is the final one now. I had Ice Cube on about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting The Rock on, I think either next week or the week after. His folks Maya's getting ready to get him on our program. So love the folks there. So this is going to be a Tone. Do me a favor. Make sure we get this clip, because I'm going to ask Kevin Frazier a question about The Rock. The impact that The Rock has on Hollywood right now is what?
Superstar, perhaps one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. And
will he be a bigger box office man than Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Well, you're talking about 2 different times, and also the way he is diversified. Remember, The Rock went into TV earlier than Arnold Schwarzenegger did. He's in many ways, his HBO show was TV when Arnold was just movies. And Arnold was just movies at a time where it was just him and Sly. There are so many stars out there. But what I will say about The Rock is that one of the best guys you'll ever meet, one of the best sales people that you will ever meet, but also just a great entertainer. You know, when he does something, it's going to be different, special, and worth your money. And if someone is giving you something where you can say, damn it, that I would have spent more. I would have spent more to see him. Then you know that they're a superstar. And that's the guys. I mean, I have affection for him because he's just such a good dude.
One last one here then, Kev.
Yeah.
Why does Hollywood then look at guys like Tom Cruise and Arnold and The Rock? I don't want to use the word artist, but there's like a different, those guys make all the money. Cruise had an incredible movie. By the way, I love Top Gun too. I love those movies.
It was the best movie of the year. It was the best movie of the year. It was. It should have won the Oscar for best movie. It was the best movie.
But why do we put those guys in different categories?
Well, two reasons. They bring us stuff that's original and they jump off the screen. Tom Cruise has jumped off the screen since he has been a kid.
Literally.
And all three of those guys that you name also are three of the greatest promoters out there. Tom Cruise can promote a movie like nobody else. The Rock can promote a movie or a TV show like nobody else. Arnold promoted the hell out of everybody. As a matter of fact, go and see Arnold's new documentary. It's coming out, and you will see his drive to get to the top of the acting world when people are like, this guy can't even speak English. What are we going to put him in a movie for? Arnold worked his ass off just like The Rock did and just like Tom Cruise does to become successful. These guys weren't just successful because they walked in and somebody anointed them the king of the world. They worked their behinds off. All three of them are incredible marketers, but they work so damn hard. So hard.
Kevin, I want to thank you, man. I mean, how many years is this at ET now?
18.
Wow.
18 years. Yeah. It's crazy.
And you look fabulous. And by the way, man, it's got to be, you don't get into anything thinking that you're going to do something for 18 years.
Never.
You pinch yourself.
Never.
If you told me when I met you that you'd be doing Entertainment Tonight 18 years later,
it's crazy.
I wouldn't believe that you would believe that.
I wouldn't have believed it. It is, listen, when you get to sit at the top of a premium brand, it's unbelievable. And the people, the places, and the things that I've gotten to do because of this job are unmatched. I mean, I've gone places around the world with the biggest stars in the world. I have been at some of the pivotal moments of our lifetimes. I've been right there. And it's just been an unbelievable gift to be there and to be able to then relay it to people out there. And so, listen, if it ends tomorrow, I walk away with a smile on my face because it has been a hell of a run and it has been one of the greatest jobs you could ever have.
You are special to me, and I marvel at your work and your tenacity and all the things that you have done in your career. I told Kevin Court that I was getting you on, and look at Kevin. Kevin's flying around at Air Force One now, and I'm going like two dudes that they couldn't find a spot for at ESPN are now at the top of their professions.
Kevin Cork and I were sitting together at ESPN, and like we were both there. And when Kevin left, and I was like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Okay, all right." He's like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I'm going to Entertainment Tonight." He was like, "What?" And it's just an amazing thing. But I look at, look, we all have been lucky enough to be given things, and I look at what you've done, what you've built, and the success you now have with your stream play. As the world changed,
yeah.
You looked at it and you said, you didn't sit there and cry over spilled milk or nothing. You said, you know what, damn it, I'm going to go build something. And you worked your ass off. And I wish people could understand how hard you work once the camera goes off. But anyway, you worked your ass off and you're here because of that. That's why you're successful now, because you worked your ass off. And that's that's the message I say to everybody. You see a successful athlete, they work their ass off. You see a successful businessman, they work their ass off. Understand, people work hard for what they got. Ain't nobody walking into anything easy. So congratulations to you. And I love when I look up and I see Ocean Casino and Resort in Atlantic City, because you know what? That's a sponsor. You went out and you earned that. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Kev. I mean, really, it means a lot to me, man, that you take time for us here. And you always, when you have a moment, take time for us. And God bless you. And thank you so much. And I promise that I will do my best in promoting soccer in Los Angeles.
Whenever you're ready to come, I got a ticket for
got
you.
it.
It's the best show in LA. I'm going to say it again. To all you people who are going to get pissed off that I'm saying this. The best sports experience in Los Angeles is in that stadium, BMO.
He's been pimping this for 3 years on me now.
Test me. Hey, when you look and you see the stars now that come to these games and they're like, whoa, how have I missed this? I'll see you there. I'll see you there, man. All right.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Have a great one.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
You got it. The great Kevin Frazier. All right, do me a favor. Please hit the like button, and you keep it here on the National Football Show.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction. Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
All right, did you know I was the Mommy Slam Dunk Champion?
Really?
Yes, really, don't sound so surprised.
Let's see it.
Oh, you're ready. All right, here we go. Let's hear the crowd. So go to right, go to left, fake 'em out. Mama, go up,
She did it.
Again?
You can't avoid gravity, but United Healthcare can help you avoid financial surprises by helping you compare costs and doctor quality ratings. United Healthcare.
Uh-huh.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sills! How you doing? Yeah. Always great to catch up. See, I like to bring a little diversity here. And by the way, you guys were on your best behavior. Thank you very much. You guys were very good. Guys, you guys handled yourself well. Okay. I mean, Tone's even throwing questions out behind the scenes there at Kevin Frazier. Don't worry, Hoss. I just got a text. He goes, was it okay? Yeah, that's why he brought it up, because He talked about the show that he was on. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. All right. By the way, I'm going to save my Jalen Carter spin from what I've learned at the top of the hour. I'm going to ask you this. What are you more concerned about as you get ready for your OTAs and you get ready for your training camp? The difficult schedule or the new coordinators? What will be more of a process? Because you think I love how I love how Eagle fans go like this. Oh, we're not going to miss a beat. Really? Did you miss a beat when Frank Reich left Carson Wentz? What's up, Will? Thank you, Will. Gary Cobb and Kevin Frazier, interesting guest. You mean a guest. I told you. You've got to be a bigger star than Big Sills. Okay? No worries at all, Sills. Oh. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Tone. We got the rock clip posted. Fantastic. Thank you, IT guys, for doing that for us. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, no worries at all, Sills. Coordinator. DC going to be an issue because of how electric our defensive core is. Electric? Who's the most electric player on your defense is Reddick. Okay? Seals, I like Jurgens starts at left guard. I'm with you. I believe that. No depth at linebacker. That's not electric. Joshua goes, June 1st is my birthday. Hopefully you get on your birthday CJ Mosley from the Jets. All right? Stop being a bad luck charm, Seals. Jeez. Wait a minute here. I'm awake. I'm trying to help you here. I'm a helper. I think that Sayamalo loss is going to be your biggest loss. Sayamalo, here, I'm going to rank them. Sayamalo, Miles Sanders, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson in that order, too. I think you're going to be your most difficult losses. I think that Sayamalo loss, you can't have your starting center say this, the smartest player I've ever played with. That guy's played with some pretty good ball players and played on some pretty good teams. And Kelsey saying that guy is the smartest football player I've ever played with. I'm just telling you, man. By the way, our social media guy's name is James. He wants a little love from Big Sills. James! Do me a favor, James. If I say something negative, though, about Jalen Hurts, don't put your head under the pillow and start crying to me. Thank you, James. We got a great team at JAKIB. He's saying shit that's too negative. I'm not posting it. I don't care what he says. and Tone's like, hey, I'm just a deliverer. See, Tone's the Moses of this thing. Okay, I just get the tablets. I didn't print the tablets. Okay, I mean, Sills, Moses didn't make the 10 Commandments. You know, I kind of just delivered them. Oh, man. I'm trying to protect you. Okay, James. James, I've never had anybody say that. Holy shit, James. Thank you. Thank you, James. Wow. Okay, well, now, you know what? Now I have a different. My aunt is a big fan of James now. Okay? James is our IT guy. And I'm trying to protect you. Wow. I wonder if that came down from Mount Olympus or that is something you came up with, James. Hey, Tone, you think that came down from Mount Olympus? Or do you think that was a James thing? Sills, do you have say who JAKIB hires? Do I have say who JAKIB hires? Do I look like I have say? I told you, remember something. You want a comparison on Big Sills? Just think of the Joker. I don't have a plan. I'm not a guy with a plan. I'm the dog that chases the ambulance. I'm not a guy with a plan. Okay? I'm not that. I'm not a guy with, and nor would I want that. I think every captain is the captain of his own ship, okay? And you sail it the way you want it. I don't want any say in your career. Hey, Sills, what do you think of this guy? I always abstain from that. When someone asks me, what do you think of this guy? I go, I like him a lot. He's a nice dude. What do you think of his ability? I'm not a talent scout. I'm not a talent scout. Yale, thank you. Show's rolling, isn't it? The show is rolling. The show is totally rolling now. Oh, we're killing it. Other people are like, well, you know, hey, Dan, do you think you can come over here? I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like Charles Barkley right now. But you know how many offers Charles Barkley gets to go other places? Nah, I don't think so. How much? No. I don't think so. Big Sills. No, I don't think so. James is protecting me. Has to be the first time I've seen. And James, you're a producer now, so I would throw you in that category. First time I've ever heard a producer go, I'm going to save Sills from Sills. Because usually it's only Xander doing that. You know? Tones is like, Tone always gets this. I'm sure Tone gets this. You work with that guy? Do you know who that guy is? Yeah, I kind of do. Do you? No, but I heard. I work with him. Tone's getting a whole different, he's getting a whole different spoonful of who Sills is. Do you know who that guy is? I kind of do. Do you? To know you is to love you. Really? Yes, boy, I'll tell you what. I got one guy that wants to protect me, another guy's telling me, hey, to know you is to love you. For that, I need to take a timeout, and I will get to the Jalen Carter. By the way, the one thing that I want to see Jalen Hurts improve, Devin White. I want to hit on that one again. Oh, Hopkins. There's a little more Hopkins news, and it concerns your rival. The Dallas Cowboys have now become a player. I'll explain. Power Hour, hour number 3. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Stills National Football Show. Appreciate you coming aboard. Hour number 3. Thank you for stepping in with us. By the way, I want to thank Gary Cobb from Fox 29 in Philly and Kevin Frazier from Entertainment Tonight jumping aboard with us today. If you missed any of those interviews, please go back and watch those interviews. You guys have a problem with the Saints bringing in Jon Gruden to install an offense for the Saints now that Derek Carr's there? You got a problem with that? D-Hop nearing the end of his career. I don't think so. You got a problem with Jon Gruden being brought in? If I'm being honest with my feelings, I just don't care. Tony goes, Gruden needs to stop getting work. I kind of am in agreement with Tone. I don't give a shit, really, but some would. New Orleans doesn't concern me. Okay, Yale. Okay. Gruden sneaking back into the NFL is okay with me. Joseph, I'm with Joseph and Tone. I don't give a shit. Okay? How many people believe, how can I do this without being what I just accused someone of being? Because I don't want to race bait. See, the only problem that I have with the Gruden thing, and your private thoughts, are you really talking like that? I mean, it's just an ignorant way of talking. Like, I know this. I've never sent an email in my entire life with the N-word on it. Since I've ever used email or a text, I've never done that. Because that's a cognizant thing you have to have, that you wrote that word in that. Or does that even matter? I don't know. I don't know. I really didn't know how to take it. Okay? My time is too valuable to care about Gruden's emails and trying to redeem himself. Okay. Well, Tone's got a problem with him because that's a problem comment because he thinks he's useless. And you have every right to think that. Okay, and trying to redeem himself. See, that's my thing too. You know why I wouldn't bring Jon Gruden in? Because it offends one black player on my team. That means it affects me. You're in this together. And you've got to think together. The Saints aren't thinking together. You're not thinking together. Even if he's the 53rd dude on the team, still does a man have a right to redeem himself? I do believe that. But when you have something like that, and you have 53 different personalities, and you bring a guy like that in, somebody in the room's going to go, what the fuck is this? So, like, I mean, it's an unneeded speed bump for the Saints. We're trying to get their program back on track. You know what I mean? I don't see the need for that. There's, you know what? And some go like this. Well, Sills, yeah, but I made a mistake. See, when you type something and you put a script together, or you put blackface scripts together, and you're putting bits together, you're thinking that out. I told you, Big Sills doesn't have a plan. I write down certain topics and shit, and I look at a pattern of how I've done things. I don't put a script together, paint my face, and go, hey, how do you think that went? Do you think it went well? Do you think it landed well? I would never do that because I'm not that smart, first off, nor am I that clever, nor would I want to. Man, to me, if you're Dennis Allen, how does that help you with your locker room? That's the coolest thing. And you know what? And some of you are going, Sills, why is that important to you? Well, the Eagle locker room is what I think is one of the reasons why it's propelling them to great success. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. The Eagles have none of that unwanted speed bump or stupid shit in the building. Do you know what you have? You have Jalen Carter in the building that everyone wants to root for and give success. How many people you think in the Saints locker room want success for Jon Gruden? Half? A third? 20? What's the point of putting things in your room and in your organization that are counterproductive to being successful? Do you follow me? Winning is such a small, fine line. That's fine line shit. That's the fine line. Hey, I think you can be 10-7 and be 10-7 for the rest of your lives. But I think to be a 12-win, 13, 14-win team and win the Super Bowl, I think all that shit has to matter. Maybe in people's lives, it doesn't matter. And probably, like Tone said, I don't give a shit. But when you're trying to be a champion like that, that stuff matters, especially when you have to rely on so many other souls. Me personally, I never would have even picked the phone. I wouldn't even ask them. I wouldn't want that to get around to the third-team defensive tackle that I'm talking to, a guy that had been thrown out of the league because he was writing the N-word on emails, and there's thousands of them. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And what again? Says you? No, it's a point I'm making. Okay, like Yale said, it's a hard pass for me. Hey, I've made a ton of them. Even for me, man, that's a hard pass. I'm like, no. My wife said something about the Redskin name, and this is kind of where I got it from, Tone. I don't really personally give a shit about the Redskin name. I don't care. NFL has had it for a billion years. I think the organization's lost a lot in their identity. However, my wife goes, but what do you think? So maybe it offends some people. Don't you think if it offends anybody, you should not have it? And I went, yeah, you're probably right. Because I don't want to offend anybody. Because it's not a hill I want to stand on. I think that's the thing Tone's saying. That's not a hill I want to stand on and battle that. I'm not going to battle that. Well, you see the Seminoles, they kept, well, I'm not going to battle that. It's not a battle I want. You know, I've learned this now. There's certain things I'm going to stand on a hill for. There's certain things I'm not now. I'm going to pick my battles better and more thoroughly thought out. That's one. Jon Gruden is not a hill, if you're the Saints, that you want to stand on. Why would you stand on that? You offend half. Shit, you probably offend the entire African-American community in your locker room with that bullshit. And then your fan base. For what? So you can install an offense? It just shows you how they think of things. Let's move on here. I saw that. I'm like, what's the point of that? that? Starting shit? I guess so. Okay. You know, I do want to hit one more time before I get into Jalen Carter and what I was told and what's going on over at the NovaCare Center. I got to say this again about Howie Roseman. What's been the one difference, Howie Roseman, second time around, in your opinion, of him being the general manager of this football team compared to when he was the general manager when they won it in 17? Get this. Isn't this crazy? Howie's a better general manager today and lost the Super Bowl than he was when he won it. Unbelievable. The organization is better. Your organization is better today than when you won it and you just lost it. I mean, Neil goes more focused. Keon, he dropped his nuts. I'm going to tell you what I think it is. He knows what it takes now when drafting who he wants. Okay? I think when I watch Roseman, how he learned from that Super Bowl win. So wait a minute, Joshua. Can I tell you this? I think Howie Roseman learned more from the complete debacle of Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz than he did from the Super Bowl win. Howie Roseman became a better general manager. You only become better through adversity. You don't become better when things are going great. You get better when you got to dig yourself out of it and restructure and rebuild and retool and refocus. He got better after the 4-win season than he did after the Super Bowl win. Okay? I think he learned from strategic moves from the 2017 win, bringing guys like Chris Long in. Hence, that's what happened in this previous offseason, bringing guys like Reddick in and all those guys. I think he learned that process. And you know what else I think he learned? I think he learned being patient. I think he learned being patient. I mean, look how patient he was. Dude, his patience now has to be better. He waited all the way until the 9th day before the start of the season to find Gardner Johnson. He was still looking all the way until game week. I thought about this during the holidays. Howie Roseman's work is never done. Someone goes, he's got one more big move. I'm like this guy is looking to make a move every day. Game week, he made a move. And maybe one of the biggest moves of the season. I'm trying to figure out, everyone know, get this, what was the biggest move he made last year, Roseman? The trade for A.J. Brown? The signing of Reddick? Or the trade for Gardner Johnson? Oh, wait. Or the free agent sign of Bradbury? Or wait, the obscure sign of Kaiser White? Yeah, because they got Gardner Johnson for nothing. I don't even remember. What was it, like a 6th rounder, 4th, 5th, 6th rounder or something? And the guy was making $836,000. What was the biggest move he made? You're going to look at the patience. Goes to Bradbury. Bradbury has a lot to prove. And you know what else I think he's really been great at, Roseman? You know, again, listening to him talk to Mike Florio the other day on how they went for Jalen Carter made me also go like this. You know where he's really great at? Using your emotions to get the best out of you. Okay? When you hit as much as Howie did last season, all you can do is marvel at the entire body of work. So hard to pinpoint one move, what Tone says. But if you examine all the moves, they're not encompassing of one move. Reddick bringing them home, not being able to figure it out. Carolina and Arizona. Why would the Eagles figure it out? They figured it out. Bradbury in the same division. The Giants quit on him. He wanted a $14, $15 million deal. They said absolutely not. And that was a problem with the Giants all year, was their corner play. And you let Gardner Johnson, or you let Bradbury go. And Bradbury stayed in the NFC East just to haunt you more every time he lined up against the Giants. He must have wanted ass. And how he used that against him. He looked like he did 2 years ago. Look at Kaiser White. Tom Telesco said, the general manager of the Chargers, I wanted to keep the kid. You couldn't figure a way to keep him. Why? Well, because the Spanos family's cheap. Look at what they did. So Austin Eckler's got $2 million in incentives added to his contract. That's a raise. So you got to work to get your money instead of just getting paid for the shit you've done already for them. Man, they're double dipping you. That's not an organization. That's not. They're double dipping you. I've already done the work, dude. I helped your quarterback. I helped your offense. Yeah, but now you got to attain these things to get the money. That's not a raise. That's not a raise. So did that White go. Dude, didn't you make the trade for AJ? I'd say this to you about AJ Brown. What you here, AJ Brown doesn't have elite numbers. He doesn't have elite numbers. Had a great year last year. Agreed. He doesn't have elite numbers. Can I tell you what he has elite? He has elite tape. So you got to do more work on that. Do you know when the Eagles made a trade? When the Eagles made a trade for AJ Brown last year, okay? When they made a trade for him, you know the first person that sent me tape on him was? Brian Baldinger. He goes, Sills, you're going to see the numbers aren't that great in Tennessee, albeit it's a Derrick Henry offense. Watch after the catch. Watch what he does after the catch. So I started watching. Elite. Getting him on the ground, I would take him over DK Metcalf. Metcalf's got better speed, but he's a better player. I would take A.J. Brown over DK Metcalf. Okay? You got to watch him, he says. Watch the way, and then one of the more important things, watch when the play's not coming to him, what he does. In the run game, especially if the run plays, watch what he does. This guy's constantly looking for contact. He's constantly looking for contact. And in a physical offense like the Eagles have, dude, that's a guy you want all night long. He's got elite tape. I get it. That was a career year last year. Unbelievably cool. Absolutely true. But if you look at his career, hey, Cooper Kupp had one elite year. The rest of it's kind of like pedestrian. You know what I'm saying? He's got elite tape. I've always thought Brown was a better player. It probably got hidden in that offense a little bit. He blocks like a tight end. He surely does. He surely does block like a tight end. All right, I want to get into this. Let me ask you something. Some of you out there probably have a better understanding of the history of your football team, especially Philadelphia Eagle fans. Has there been a more hyped rookie other than Carson Wentz, because he's a quarterback? Has there been a more celebrated and hyped prospect in the last 23 years? since 2000 than Jalen Carter. Has there been a more hyped guy? Westbrook was a third rounder. How hyped could he have been? Because he played at Nova? Coming out, Chase Young. I'm talking Eagle-wise, Tone. Tone, I'm talking Eagle-wise. I should have preferenced that. Eagle-wise. No, Eagle-wise. Eagle-wise. Sorry, I should have preferenced it better. Okay? In the last 23 years, has there been a more hyped rookie for the Eagles than Jalen Carter? Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner. You think Devontae Smith is more hyped than this guy here was considered the best player in the draft? Devontae Smith wasn't considered the best wide receiver in the draft. D-Jax was a second rounder. Promoting a second rounder like that? I don't know. This guy's got a lot of hype on him. People saying Cox, he wasn't hyped. No, he was not. Fletcher was not hyped like this. He wasn't. Smith is great, but he wasn't as hyped as Carter. Carter was marketed as the best player in the draft in most circles. Yeah, I told you there were 5 dudes in this draft. The rest of them are good ball players. And you probably had really 53 good players in this draft that are going to be impactful players. The rest of them be lucky to make rosters. It wasn't a great draft. I told you had 5 sandbox guys. Texas Tech kid, Bijan, Carter, and Anderson, and maybe the tackle from Ohio State. There were 5 dudes. And if you want to go Bryce Young as that 5th dude, probably Bryce. Okay, but the rest of those guys, there were 5 dudes. Sometimes you have 10. Like, go to the 83 draft and take a look at that draft. I mean, you got Bruce Smith and Billy Ray Smith and Eric Dickerson and all the quarterbacks that went. Elway, Marino, Kelly. I mean, there were like 10 or 15. Darryl Green went in that draft. There was just impact players in that draft. There was like 5 dudes in this one. So he's got a lot of height. He is the most height player. I've seen video of Carter doing drills, no pads. He moves great for a big man. Lane had great height. I think he was the 4th or 5th pick in the draft for the Eagles. So that, right tackle. Let me tell you this. I'm with Yale. Let me tell you what I saw. Okay? I saw some of them highlights and somebody sent me something over, and I'm not going to say who because I don't want to get anybody in trouble here. But I watched some tape on this kid. Okay, him running around. Man, I'll tell you what, for a guy that's 6'4", 6'5", 325 pounds, 318, I think they said. And for him moving the way he moves, he's the best defensive football player on that team right now. I'm going to tell you, man, you ain't got a football player on that team that has more talent than that guy. You do not have a player on that team. Remember something, Reddick's not the best tackler, and he's not a good cover guy. This guy here, man, okay? This guy here, man, is just, he's got the makings of being very special. Like, for the size he has, better than Reddick. Reddick's one-dimensional, dude. This guy's not coming off the field. He's a 3-down guy. And I got to tell you this. I hate to tell you guys this, but this is bad news for Jordan Davis. He ain't starting this year. Fletcher's going to start next to Jalen Carter. And the rotation guy for a second year in a row is going to be Jordan Davis. Now, and once again, I am not calling Jordan Davis a bust. But if you can't start in your second season in the NFL, you are not the 13th pick. You are not the 13th pick. Okay? You are not. JM goes, you still think Nolan gets more sacks than Carter? Yeah, because interior tackles. When's the last time you had a 10-sack guy at the interior? Hardgrave, and then how far do you have to go back to find a 10-sack guy? Probably Fletcher or something he did, where you had a 10-sack defensive tackle. Do you understand double-digit sacks? That's why Hardgrave got paid $20 million. He got paid $20 million. Why? Because he had double-digit sacks. Getting double-digit sacks in the interior is incredible. You don't see double-digit sack guys. Okay? You don't see double-digit sacks. Okay? Well, Neil goes, Fletcher a few years before that. Fletcher's a borderline Hall of Famer. Okay? I mean, name me a double-digit sack guy in the NFL today. Donald? Hardgrave? Did the guy from, Tone, did Lawrence from the Giants, did he have double-digit sacks? He was the All-Pro. The guy from the New York Giants. Bose is an end. Bose is an end. Lawrence had 7.5 and was the All-Pro. The New York Giant defensive tackle who beat out Javon Hardgrave, and he did that at the nose. 7.5 at the nose. Pretty impressive. You put him in a 2 technique, 3 technique. That translates to me, I would say this. Dexter Lawrence, if you put him in a 3 technique, maybe he can't play it though, or at least in a 2 technique. 7.5 sacks in a 2 technique coming over on the nose. A nose tackle getting 7.5 sacks. Like, if Jordan Davis gets 7.5 sacks playing nose, he'll be the All-Pro. You're hoping for 3 sacks out of him, 3.5 sacks out of Jordan Davis if he plays the nose. Okay? Put him in a 1 technique, 0 technique. You have Carter in the 3, or you have Fletcher in the 3. Fletcher's not going to play the nose, nor should he, because he's got more ability at the 3. Okay, or the 2. Carter is not as versatile as Fletcher, and there lies the difference. And there is the complex difference on how you got to use him. You see, you got to understand something about Jordan Davis. You can't put him in a 3, and you can't line up in a 4 technique or 5 technique. You've got to move him closer to the ball, which means he's limited. Okay? 0 technique, shade 1, maybe a 2 technique, maybe most. Whereas Carter and Fletcher, you can go like this: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can move those 2 guys up and down the line of scrimmage. Okay? Because they have the versatility of being able to play those positions. This may be asking for low-hanging fruit, but if Davis can just get TFLs, I'll be, again, Tone, this goes back to the comment again about, okay, there's 2 different conversations about Jordan Davis. Sills, do you think he's going to be a productive defensive lineman for the Eagles? I do. Okay? Do you think, Sills, that he'll be in the light of – and by the way, I didn't have a problem drafting him. I had a problem drafting him 13th. I said that. No problem. It's a good pick. He's a very talented kid. I thought 13th was higher. I thought he was more down in the 20s. When I first – you can ask Xander. I had him down when the Eagles had the 22nd pick, the year they took him. I thought he was somewhere in there. And I wanted the kid Lloyd from Utah and the defensive back from Washington because the Eagles had 3 picks. Those were the 3 guys I wanted. Funny, all 3 started. Well, except for Jordan. I like the kid Wyatt who was down there. I think the kid Wyatt's in Green Bay. I think so. Okay? Dude, see, it's a conversation. The problem, Tone just goes, hey, I'm just looking for TFLs, tackles for losses. I don't think he's a penetrating guy. I think he controls the line of scrimmage, and he doesn't get up the field like this kid Carter gets up the field, or the same way that Hardgrave and Fletcher got up the field last year. Those guys get up the field and create another line of scrimmage. See, you got to remember something. When you're a here's one of the things that Aaron Donald just doesn't get a lot of credit for. No, it's a different NFL today. But when you get up the field, and sometimes they'll run behind where he gets up the field and they'll come underneath. Well, that's the backside tackle's responsibility. And because they pay him a shitload of money and the Rams don't budget their money well, they got a stiff over there. And what happens? You have a lane. And that's how teams beat the Rams now, is because they run behind Donald. But if you have a good defense, remember when Sue was there, it was Sue and Donald. They won the Super Bowl because Sue had the backside. He knew he wasn't. See, Ndamukong Suh is a very smart player. He's not asked to get up the field and make TFLs anymore. He can do it at times when he's feeling good. But he's there to get the backside 3 techniques gap to make sure that there's not lanes. And that's what he did effectively last year to help Reddick and the outside pass rushers. He became a one-dimensional player, and he was comfortable with that because his best days, he knew he was on the back 9 of his career. He knew that. He had no problem. He had made his money. He's looking for a championship ring. I wouldn't mind bringing him back. I'd have no problem. I don't want Ndamukong Suh going through training camp. I don't need him in training camp. I don't even need him in OTAs. Dude, I need him against the Patriots. Okay? Those guys were brought in to protect the 3 technique. And how you protect the 3 technique is making sure there's not run lanes in the middle. And the Eagles, this is why I tell you, the 49er guys think they got a steal in this guy Hardgrave. I think the guy Armstead who's going to play next to him, he's a good ball player. But I don't think those 2 are going to be as formidable as you think against the run. And you know what I would do to San Francisco? See, this is where I think the Eagles can beat San Francisco. You know where? I think they could beat them with Landon Dickerson and with Kelsey running up the middle. I think they could run the ball on them. Okay, and Jalen making decisions. I don't think they're going to be as formidable as they think stopping the run. I mean, Hardgrave is a really good pass rusher, especially for a 2 technique, and play him at the 3 at times, and you could drop him in at the nose. He's really effective there too. You know who he's like that Mozzie Smith guy, but he's better. That's who he kind of reminds me of. Or Mozzie Smith reminds me of kind of that player. But Hardgrave didn't. They were down like 16th in the run game last year. How does that help San Francisco? I don't know. Okay? I don't know. Says, who's the last rookie edge rusher on the Eagles with 10 sacks? Is it Cole? Was it Cole that did that? I wouldn't count Reggie as a rookie because he had played for the Showboats. Was it Cole, JM? Never been one. Wow. Okay. Whew. Seals, your project, Mozzie Smith, to be a better player than Davis? No. I don't think Mozzie Smith's has better potential than Jordan Davis. No, I don't. No. I think the kid, to me, I thought he was the third rounder. Cowboys took him really high. I did not think he was a first round pick. I thought he was more of a third round guy. Man, when Fletch was in his prime, no one could run on the Eagles, and I mean no one. This is why I told Xander we need Davis and the rest of the young guys to step up big time. You know what? God, I tell you, I got to tell you this, guys. When I first got here to JAKIB, and I told him that Fletcher Cox was my favorite defensive tackle over Aaron Donald, he was like, what? I go, I think he's better. And he goes, why? I go, can't run on him, and he's a pass rusher, and he's big. He's a force. I thought he was more of a complete defensive tackle than Aaron. Aaron's a sensational TFL and a pass rushing fool. I mean it. He is a great pass rusher. No one's disputing that. But to me, I always thought Fletcher was more complete and the kind of defensive tackle that I was told to be. You had to be, I like 3 down guys. Play the run, stop the run, pass rush, get in the backfield and make plays. And can put your right hand down or your left hand down if you got to play right tackle or left tackle, or if you have to play 0 technique, 2 technique, 3 technique. I couldn't do all those things. I was limited because I didn't work on it. You know why? I love playing the left defensive tackle position. Well, when you're in the NFL, you also have to put your left hand down, and I was terrible at it. Okay? And I needed to be better at I played left tackle. Jerome was able to put his right hand down. It's different feet, it's different steps, it's different technique. It's getting your head front side versus backside. It's a whole different deal. See, that's what made guys like Barrett Brooks great. Barrett could play left guard, left tackle, right tackle. When you got guys that could do that, you last 10 years. You last 10 years. Fletcher's done. Go play. Hey, Fletcher's done. I think he had, what did he have last year? 6 sacks? I thought he got better. I thought he got better as the season went on. I thought Fletcher, once they brought in Sue and Hardgrave, or once they brought Linville in and they brought Sue in, I thought he got better. I thought he got better. So again, with all the hype, see, Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, with all the hype and all the anticipation, I hope he embraces this. So Fletcher had 7 sacks last year? It's totally a great year. From the D tackle position, dude, that's a great year for an interior D lineman. That's a great season. You guys don't understand. Fletcher had 7 sacks on only 65% of the snaps played. He's so far from done. Most DTs wish they could get 5 sacks. Are you crazy? 5 sacks is an exceptional year out of the D tackle position. See, you guys are looking at Jordan Davis and thinking Jordan Davis is going to be some 10-sack guy. Dude, if you get 5 sacks out of him this year, he would have had a year where they'll consider him for the Pro Bowl. Okay? Defensive tackles like Warren Sapp and John Randall and Aaron Donald getting 18 sacks, 16 sacks, those guys are freak shows. Those guys they're different. Okay? Sapp's better than Donald because Sapp plays the run. Randall plays the run, but again, a different NFL. Completely different NFL. That's right, Joseph. Became more rested. Remember when it was either the Tennessee or Pittsburgh game? He came out of that game and everyone was like, man, he's gassed. I thought Fletcher was out of gas. And then when those dudes came in, dude, he was it put some gasoline in the tank for him because I thought he took off after that. I did. I thought he took off, man. All right. Please hit the like button. One thing in one area I want to see Jalen Hurts get better at. I'm going to tell you next. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Weather forecasting is a team game.
We rely on each other every day, updating the models and passing along new critical information.
We have a team of 5 experienced meteorologists and a specialized weather producer, Paul. Say hi, Paul.
Sometimes what I see in the model, Cecily could see something different.
That's when we come together as a team to make our most accurate prediction.
And all of this backed by more than 100 AccuWeather scientists. It's a team game.
And we have the best team in town.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Celebrating the life of your loved one is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. When the matriarch of the Dalloway family died suddenly at 82 years old, Life Celebrations by Givenish stepped in.
They will make this the easiest thing that it's I know it's not easy, but they will make this as easy as possible.
Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
I just know that my dad, who is in charge of everything, was not in charge of anything at that point when my mom passed. And again, just another shout out to this place for making it easy.
Turning tragedy into a celebration of life, no matter how hard, is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
EAGLES, Eagles.
So Nurse chose Embiid over Durant. Has Kevin Durant's star fallen? Man, you chose a guy who was considered at one time the best player in the NBA. And you decided not to take the Suns roster, and you took the 76er roster, and you took the culture. That just tells you they're not sure what's going on when it comes to ownership. He had to have taken that because of ownership and it being worse in Phoenix because the roster's better. The Phoenix has a better roster than Philadelphia. And plus you have the whole Harden nightmare. And but you have no idea what you're going to do when it comes to James Harden. And you really don't have any lateral moves. You're with restraints on money, draft picks, and yet you decided that you thought that you would go with the 76ers instead of the Suns. And maybe you thought it was a better road. I don't know. The East is pretty good. Okay. Denver's getting better. Okay. There's no question about it. Sacramento's getting better. So, dude, Harden's a rock star. 200. You're going to pay that guy 4 years, $200 million? Man, NBA guys. All right, real quick here before I say something about Jalen. What'd you guys make of what I said about putting Nolan Smith behind Hassan Reddick to see him watch the game? And the reason I say this, have him play behind him. And he can watch how Reddick plays in a wide side of the field, short side of the field. What he's looking at. And when you're watching film for the first couple games, Reddick could teach him, because listen, here's the one thing I don't think some people get a lot and understand. Dude, it's one thing for a coach to draw a play up on a board or a technique up on a board. It's like a professor, and he's drawing a calculus equation, and then he wants you to do it, and you put your thoughts, and then he wants to see your work. It's one thing to draw it up on a board. It's another thing for you to put the process into play. It's another thing to sit there and talk to a guy, okay, he goes, this is why I did this. See, coach wants me to come here, but because I saw the back flare out and get a little more depth, I needed to get depth because I have to set the edge. See, a coach can't talk to you like that. A coach is going to come to you and go, okay, here's a 50 front. Here's a 43 or a 34 or a bear front or a 46 or Tampa 2 or all that. And he's going to give you the technique. This is why the great coordinators, like Belichick, like the guy Dan Quinn in Dallas, what they'll do, like Jim Johnson, dude, one of the greatest things on the planet. I'm going to tell you guys something about one of your boys. You're probably not going to like it. Hugh Douglas sucked at tackling, and he sucked at covering. You know, theory, Hugh Douglas was a lot like Hassan Reddick. Okay? He's a lot like Hassan Reddick. But the difference is that Jim Johnson was like this. Man, this guy can rush the passer, though. He can rush the passer. How do I utilize that? So what did he do? He put him in a position to succeed. He started moving him around. Short side of the field, put him on the weakest guy, pass rush and rush the guy. It turned out to be a green jacket guy. That's being innovative, and that's being a guy who utilizes the talent that you have on your field. But also in the same process, you had guys that were out there showing him, Jeremiah Trotter and all these guys. You got to be in this position. You got to see, this is the hidden gem on Seth. And why Seth Joyner is one of the greatest linebackers the Eagles have ever had. You know why? Because Seth Joyner would do this. Jerome would go, I'm gone. Or Reggie goes, I'm taking the inside gap. Do you know the guy that was there and the guy that was always there to clean up their mess was Seth Joyner? Seth Joyner cleaned everyone's mess up, protecting the backside of the play. Shit, when you play against a guy like Emmett, what was Emmett always trying to do? Emmett was always trying to hit the play backside, wasn't he? He'd lead you front side because Emmett was so patient. Remember what Seth said? What was it, last week? He knew he was going to make that cutback play, and he would fly into that hole and hit him, and he would tattoo his ass. Why? Well, because he studied. He understood what Emmett's game was. He knew what he was trying to accomplish. Having guys like him on the field are unbelievable. And by the way, I know some of you think that Nakobe Dean, you guys keep telling me how smart he is. And I heard Gary Cobb. Well, guess what? So you believe that he is going to, having never played really any significant football in the NFL, he's going to be able to walk in there and, having never been in a game situation, to any degree of any importance, you believe he's going to look at a strong set and know exactly what to set the front on, and he's going to know exactly what to do when all of a sudden they have a shift or they move strength and there's an audible because he set the front to an odd to an even. You really believe that? Having never played game experience. Let me hook you up here, guys. Playing against Vanderbilt and playing against the 49ers is night and day. The smartest coaches on the planet are in the NFL, not college football. Okay? The smartest coaches are not in college football. Okay? They're in the NFL. You know why? That's Chip Kelly. Ask Steve Spurrier. Ask Urban Meyer. Ask all those so-called national championship coaches. You got to remember something about Pete Carroll. Pete cut his chops in the NFL. He was a two-time NFL coach with the Jets and the Patriots before he went to USC. Okay? He knew the NFL game. He went there to learn how to talk to players. So Dean is going to he's going to walk in there. That's like Jalen Hurts being asked in his first year to be an MVP candidate. And for the record, Dean's a schwimp. We'll see. I think that question mark on his durability and his lack of experience, is he going to be your quarterback on defense? Are you going to turn that over to him and he's going to set the fronts and he's going to be your quarterback? Having never really played any NFL. Just turn it over to him. Okay. Hope he gets the snap count right. I'm just saying. I hope he gets the snap count right. They need a veteran linebacker here to help. That's right, JM. I think Morrow, look, he's not a great player, but he is an NFL player. And if you have an NFL player with you, I think that helps. Okay? I think the kid Morrow, his importance, in my opinion, is going to be helping him exactly with what I'm saying. What are you seeing here? I think, dude, I really do believe Nakobe Dean's biggest work will be in the classroom and not the football field in this offseason. Dude, he's got to do the same kind of studying Jalen Hurts does. Because in theory, you are Jalen Hurts of the defense. Okay? Who's Patrick Queen? Hey, I want somebody with some backbone here and some strength. He's got to be, and I'm kidding. Yeah, he's got to be a guy that studies exactly. You know what? I'll tell you this. It might not be a bad idea one day if you're Nakobe Dean to go into the room with Jalen Hurts and watch how he studies film and what he's looking for. That's what Belichick and Brady did for 20 years in New England. They played war games, and they would go back and forth and situationally. I told you guys this before. Jimmy Johnson told me this. Belichick would come in with a play sheet, and Brady would come in with a play sheet. And they would sit there for 2 hours. And Belichick would sit there and go, "You're on your 20. It's 3rd and 7. 2 minutes left going into the half. I'm playing banjo coverage. I'm going to slide the front here. What are you seeing and what are you doing?" And then Belichick and Brady would go back and forth, and he'd go, "Yeah, but didn't you see the safety over the top? The safety over the top was reading the guy coming out of the backfield, and that's why it was a play. That's why the play had a loss on it. They set you up there. That went on early in Brady's career, because what teams do to young quarterbacks, they set you up to go to the place that they want you to throw. The great quarterbacks, they change that around, and they go where they want to. That's why when you hear this comment, the great quarterbacks already know pre-snap where they're going. The young ones don't. If I'm Dean, I might go into the room and do that. All right. Guys, you were awesome here. I hope everyone had a great Memorial Day. Short work week. It just got a Monday vibe to it, though, I think. I feel kind of like a Monday a little bit here, but we really appreciate it. Kevin Frazier was awesome from Entertainment Tonight. We so appreciate that. Hey, by the way, all the guys that work on the show, Tone, you were spectacular as always. All of you, we thank you very much, man. Hey, don't forget all the interviews, too. Gary Cobb was there. And thank you very much, Tone. Very kind words. And you can go listen to him. I thought he was fantastic as well. Xander, Big Joe, thank you very much. Till tomorrow, 3 to 6 Eastern. We'll see you on the flip side.